2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation.
Albert Chekai. I'm the director for radio services at ZBC. We have about 7 radio stations. Let me acknowledge my seniors who are here with me. My brother Comfort Mbofana is a veteran broadcaster. He was in broadcasting when I was still at school. And it's my honor to be sitting alongside him discussing broadcasting.
Wow, that's excellent, yeah. So what we will try and unpack is to understand that we've been talking productions, concentrating on content, but at the back of it also, we hear that we need to converge, we need to move forward so that we can get good products out, particularly from an infrastructure perspective. And the way technology has evolved is no more what it used to be 10, 15 years ago. And maybe, Reason, let's start with you. When you look at these challenges that we are facing from a provision of infrastructure that would seek to help, what is this that you know we are either doing or that we should do in order to have this properly converged aspect that will help us when it gets to infrastructure, particularly in the new way of undertaking broadcasting? If you can share with us your experiences.
Thank you. I'm going to use examples or testimonies from what we have done with ZBC, the State Broadcaster, which is where I think we've had a lot of success. And maybe just to give context to it, I'm going to go back to a presentation that was done by Ibrahim earlier on, where he was trying to explain about the technology or the solutions that are being provided by Lavo, so that we understand. For me, it's seeing where we are and where things are going. And we're talking about profitability, we're talking about sustainability. So Brahim was trying to explain that right now we're using boxes, we're using multi-viewers in boxes, we're using all sorts of devices. And the truth of the matter in broadcasting is that devices are dying. And having that knowledge or knowing that that reality is going to happen means we have to prepare for what is coming ahead of us. So the solution he was talking about is called Home Apps. Home Apps is basically saying, you've got a multi-viewer, you've got an up-down cross-converter in box format or whatever it is, and we're saying because the boxes are dying, everything is now in software. So all you have is you've got one platform, and that platform allows you to have all the functionality in software format. So instead of burdening yourself and buying boxes and being heavily burdened with a box that you have for the rest of your life or for however long it's going to be working for 10 years because you spent $10,000 on it, you can now have an app that you can take in, use. When you're done using it, you can either send it back, rent it, send it back, get something else, use it, finish using it, send it back. That's one model that you can use, or you can actually just own it, but it stops you from having infrastructure that you're not going to use completely or repeatedly, permanently, because you're only going to use it for a certain function. When you're done with that function, you can let go of it. That's really the idea. So it's about being flexible in terms of the approaches that we have, not being traditional about how we do. We used to do it this way, so we must continue to do it this way. There has to be new ways of doing it.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Lito, let me latch on to the point that has just been raised, but putting emphasis on you have big players, and then you would have independent producer directors that may not necessarily have any form of infrastructure, and yet from a creative perspective, they might be great in what they're doing. What would you say would be the best way to try and get the two sides together so that ultimately we can fast track and get more out of what we can get from a product perspective?
From a product perspective, I think one of the most important things to take note of is in this communication revolution. Connectivity is the new currency that Africa should really look for, and that is what we should build in, because there are three important ingredients we must look at. We must look at people, where their interests lie. We must look at the policies that guide, and then the productivity. So if we invest in infrastructure through a collaborative way, through partnerships, then profitability automatically follows inclusion. So as opposed to previous or even current methods where government is a regulator and controls spaces, government should now open, embrace, enable through policies that enable both government and the private player to cut costs in sharing infrastructure, but also to be able to bring in that new talent that you talked about. There are spaces they can share, there's talent they can bring on board, but we must invest in these. And throughout these conversations from yesterday, I think the emphasis has been on cheaper, affordable models that can be used across. So SADC is coming together to try and share infrastructure. East Africa should do the same, but generally Africa should come together to share infrastructure. That way, we shall not only be supporting the private sector, but we shall also be able to support young talent, and we shall see the convergence basically benefiting all of us. Of course, in Uganda alone, just like the rest of Africa, there's a lot of diversity, but how do we bring these voices across in a way that keeps the authenticity, but we are also able to share across some of these aspects. So I think with that convergence, not just of technology, but of people, partnerships, and policy, I think we can thrive.
Now, Comfort, when we look at what we do in the broadcasting space, we have the tendency of segmenting us as private and public, to the extent that we may end up duplicating unnecessarily infrastructure and equipment. And yet, we will have policy frameworks that would speak to sharing of infrastructure. Why is it as such that the actualization thereof does not work?
Yeah, I want to pick up from where the good doctor left off and speak about sharing of resources, which is something we don't often do because we're competing amongst ourselves. We need to bring down the coming together that's happening continentally, regionally, and bring it down to what we're doing locally in our various jurisdictions. Where I work as an example, we should not be a competitor to the state broadcaster. We should be collaborating, we should be moving together, and with all the other broadcasters that are there. So when that convergence, when that collaboration comes in, what it does is make money for all of us. What it does is move the sector and the industry forward for all of us. I will make reference to the PwC Media Outlook report, which came out last week for 2025 to 2029, which looks at three jurisdictions mainly, which are Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa, and the amount of money that's being spent there. In terms of the amount of money that's being generated in terms of revenues and the growth that's happening. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And circling back to our discussion here about, we needing to invest in infrastructure. A lot of this growth is driven by, again, what my sister spoke about connectivity. So our telco companies have to come into the fray. Our tech companies, the ones who are doing AI, etc., have to come into the fray, so that there's growth that's registered in this sector, so that we survive. Because you can see that the revenues from traditional advertising are not just plateauing. After 2029, they're probably going down. So digital media is the future, but we have to insert ourselves in the various touch points of the ecosystem of digital media.
Thank you. Albert.
I'm listening, DJ.
I saw you had your mic ready.
Thank you. Yes, I'm ready. They are laying groundwork for what I wanted to say. I don't know whether one is a prophet, is another prophet. From yesterday's conversation, when we look at this subject, It's a continuation of yesterday's discourse, where we were talking about us waking up as a region to say, why can't we convert our little populations? Eswatinis 1.2 million, Botswana's 2 million, Zimbabwe's 16 million, into a 400 million economy. And why we have not done that is a mystery. We are coming, okay, I like it yesterday, somebody spoke about the 3 H's: history, humanity, and hope. And we are coming from a common history. The first country to get independence from our region was back in 1961. And the latest country, that's 1994. Amazing, 31 years ago. But the question rather, DG, is why have we not been doing this before? Why have we not been gathering and discussing why we are not sharing infrastructure? Why as SABA, as SADC, as Africa, why haven't we thought of a satellite? Maybe what DSTV is doing right now, we could have done that as SABA member states and have our own platform. But why have we not done that? I think number one, there is a false sense of superiority over each other. What my brother Comfort was talking about, competition. Why should a national broadcaster compete with its own children? Because every other broadcaster came out of the national broadcaster. And why should NBC compete with the ZBC? For me, DG, I think that has been our greatest undoing as a region. But I'll tell you why we got into that stage. There is the advertisement revenue in the global sector. It's about 1.08 trillion US dollars. Projections are that it will be 1.3 trillion by 2030. But as SADC, as SABA, each country maybe thinks it will get a chunk of that. But the sad story is Africa is just less than 2%.
Those are the realities. Those are the realities. Now,
Yes.
I want to come now to is it Brahim? Brahim. As a technology partner, you have heard now exactly what the colleagues here have said in terms of where they believe the challenges are. And we are on the point of saying that from a technological aspect of proper convergence that would seek to bring down cost but bring in efficiency, you being a supplier of technology in this space, what would your input be? But keeping in mind what was just said a short while back.
Okay, I think I'm going to speak to what the core of our business is, which is audio over IP, video over IP. I think the connectivity part plays a strong role into having a better connection and for any future project. From what we see in the continent, I think we improve on that aspect. And in order to, let's say, I've heard one of the colleagues mention about the smaller, let's say, broadcasters. I actually believe that starting small and scaling up your business is possible with almost any leading innovation partner. I mean, what we offer is really starting with one, let's say, power core, if we're talking about radio products, and then from there, scale it gradually. Also can benefit independent creators, right? The independent creators can use this excellent equipment in order to produce more. And with the vision that we have, that application, whenever you need them, where you need them, is actually could be the independent creators and also the public broadcaster that can find a way to collaborate together and produce more. Going back to the connectivity part, I think we're getting there. There is better 5G now, connectivity. It's already working for the audio part. I think the next step will be to really try with video over IP for public broadcasters or private broadcasters as a next step. I think having, one of my colleagues mentioned, between brackets, cheap equipment, yes, it can do the job. But really, if we're aiming high and we say, okay, in 2 years, one of the African nations is going to host a major event, how ready are we to actually fastly, let's say, make a decision and prepare for this event? If you look at sports rights, I mean, there is football, we're talking about Olympics, handball. There are a lot of football, a lot of sports events that are happening, and we must ask ourselves, are we really making an investment that is future-proof? We have to look at the big pictures, right?
Okay,
And to actually make the right investment.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think one of the panelists actually mentioned something that we tried to do when we were in Zanzibar, to say that whenever we have these conventions, we must have resolutions that we take so that we can track them. I will hopefully try and see what the resolutions were that we took at Zanzibar and maybe share them with the colleagues so that we can all see where we have moved and where we have not moved, because that normally would be part of a process that will help us to keep track of what we are doing. But I want to throw in now the aspect of regulation and policy framework. Are our policies friendly for regional cooperation, or are they just tailored to cater for those who are living in a specific country? And I'm raising this against the backdrop. If you look at SABA, we are a conglomerate of entities that are working in different countries, most probably different rules and everything that goes with. I'm aware that through CRASA we are trying to harmonize that. Reason, what would you say, what is your experience if we look at that collaboration by looking at our governments, their policy frameworks, in particular when you look at infrastructure sharing? Are these things enforceable, or are they just on paper? And how do they impact what we are discussing?
I'm not really an expert in that area, but I will give my little experience in that. I think you asked two questions. From what I understood, are they doable? And I get that. I think it is doable. And taking from the conversations that happened yesterday, where it's a question of having a shared vision, wanting to do the same thing, and being willing to make the commitment at country level, at cellular level, and agreeing and saying, this is what we want to achieve. And based on that background, we can then agree on a policy. So, is it doable? I think it is doable.
Dr. Lito?
Yes, it is doable, and there are pockets of success. For instance, if you look at Uganda, it went into a digitization process where there was a national infrastructure built, and basically a policy was passed where everybody on television had to move away from analog to digital. And I'm sure there are people in the room here who helped in that process. But when you look at the regulatory framework and cross-border investments and partnerships, in Uganda, for instance, we've been able to partner with MultiChoice, and MultiChoice is able to relay local content from Uganda and vice versa. So already that showcases that even within regulations that Uganda sets to guide the broadcasting space, this is possible. We see increasingly locally produced films by local Ugandans showcasing different contexts in Uganda that are being rerun by MultiChoice. So for me, that's an example that shows it is possible. But like he said earlier, sometimes there's the superiority complex and fear to be overshadowed. And yet the convergence has shown us that the space is so wide it can be divided. And infrastructure and the costs of investment can get cheaper if we actually work together. So the financing and business model for media infrastructure and the policies related to that must really speak to each other. And like you've challenged us, like from every convention we meet, what comes of it? I think we were showcased what happened to Seychelles, where they picked up something, they have replicated it, they've come back to tell the story. How can we now build on that as a continent and across the board share and see if it actually does work?
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to latch on to the element of finance and maybe Comfort, you can come in here. When we look at development finance institutions, investors, and most probably international partners, what is the appetite from them to try and assist the industry in that regard? Because if you don't have money and you want to create and you don't have the means, that could retard your process. And I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because what happens, independent producers and directors, at the best of times, they will say that, but public broadcasts do not even allow us access to their studios or their editing facilities and so on. What is this that you have to say around that?
Okay, I'll first comment. I'll give the love back to my brother Albert, by the way, before I get too far. Nice to see you again. But the lady from SABC who was speaking on the radio, which is an area which I'm fairly familiar with, I loved all the things she was saying because I could relate with them. And how SABC, I remember her saying this was, is it 87% revenues you're making from elsewhere? I like that thinking that they're treating it as a business rather than waiting for money to come from elsewhere. We're very lucky here in Zimbabwe that we have a listening ministry and a listening government whom we will appeal to follow your example, Chairman, of what you've done with the Namibia Broadcasting Corporation, of going into partnership with a company so you can control the data connectivity. It's an idea that that I think we should all learn from and apply. And those are the ideas we should be going to international financiers with. Something that makes sense. What is the return on investment? I think the times are gone where we should think of this business, particularly for state broadcasters, that they should just wait for money to be coming from the fiscus. We should also be thinking about how do we generate our own revenues. We should be thinking about how do we give proposals to international finances and local finances, because we can do these things ourselves. We can raise that money internally as long as people can see that there's a return on that investment. So we should be thinking a bit more commercially and a little less than, let us wait for that manna that comes from heaven.
30 seconds, Comfort, for you to wrap up, because the timekeepers are very strict here.
Thank you, DJ.
30 seconds for Comfort just to wrap up.
Okay. I'm very inspired by what I've heard in here, particularly from yourself, sir, about what Namibia Broadcasting Corporation is doing. I think these are things we should replicate all over Africa. There's also some fascinating stuff I've been hearing from some other presentations and panelists who've been up here, which just shows that as Africa, as Southern Africa, as Africa, we have a lot of ideas. Where the falling down comes on is on implementation and will to execute.
Thank you very much. Brahim, 30 seconds.
I think I'll just wrap it up quickly. I think if you are thinking...
I have a timer here.
So for public or private broadcasters, I think our message is the same. If to start small and scale your business, it is possible in a software-defined solution. It is the way we've been doing with the Lavo Vision for the last decades, and I think we have really proven records of this in different areas of Africa, either public broadcasters or privately owned. I understand the challenges that privately owned, etc. I think it should be something a collaborative way to really solve those challenges between the independent creator and also the state broadcasters.
Thank you. That was 19 seconds. Dr. Lito.
I would like to use the African Union digitization agenda as a guiding policy framework that we can all use to promote a public-private partnership and regional integration to innovate, promote local content, and monetize the audiences. Thank you.
Thank you. Reason.
Thank you.
Dr. Lito, you took 5 seconds of your 30.
Okay, thank you. I think, like the other speakers have said, it's very important for us to come together and just agree, for the broadcasters in the different locations, to come together, agree on one common vision, and be willing to come together and not be competitive, as the word has been given, so that we can achieve the same thing. That's what I believe.
Thank you very much. Albert.
Yes, thank you very much. I like this conversation. So yesterday, Napoleon Nyani said, we need a Victoria Falls declaration. My brother Lamin from Eswatini said, we need the next step. We have the technology, we have the money. What has been lacking is the willpower and the ideology to go to the next step. But as Lumumba said, Africa is not Belgian, is not French, is not American, is not British. Africa is African. We have the solutions, and if we want, we can come up with the solutions on this conference. Thank you, DJ.
Thank you very much to my panel. Very articulate, to the point. Just a few takeaways. The first thing is that there has to be deliberate aspects linked to investment, and telcos must also work with us because they are key partners in this business. Equally, the sharing of infrastructure becomes a critical business imperative, because if we do that, we will bring down the cost. And then, of course, we must work away from working in silos, because otherwise, if we do that, we will end up with unnecessary duplication, which ultimately will lead to unnecessary expenditure that is not there. One of the things in closing that I really want to appeal to us as broadcasters, we bring our technical partners to join us in and out on these conferences. We need to be able to take their hand and support them in the businesses that we do, because otherwise, at the point, they will find no value as to why they should come and be part of what we do here. That's a cardinal point from us. From NBC, for those that are here, I just want to indicate that we are dealing with OCOM, SES of late because they took over Intelsat, Deutsche Welle, is it Laura?
Lavo.
France 24, TVU last year when we did our presidential elections, they were a partner with us for that broadcast. RT, Sputnik, and Centec. It is important that our technical partners find value as to why they are coming here. With that said, I want to thank my panel and also thank everybody for attention. Thank you very much. How did we do on time, man?
You did fantastic, but I think our panel was hot as it is outside, but before they leave, may I ask if there's anyone with any question that they need answers? Just 2 questions, if anyone does have any, before they step on down. Going once, going twice, gone. At this moment, may I ask our board chair to come up so we can have our photo moment. Where are our photographers? And the vice board chair as well, photographers. I am with my co-host here, Bengani. As we take a look at the conversation that was had, Bengani, you need to be precise because until you can see who's up there.
Yeah. Kulabo abasanda kusixhuma lalabo abasilandela besendlini ukukhangela into eqhakathekileyo ekhulunywe ngayo ukuxhumana iconvergence ukuthi kusetshenziswe imchina efanayo lokhu kuyaphathisa kakhulu ekwehliseni indleko kulabo abasebenzisa ubuciko iartificial intelligence konke lokhu kusenzelwa ukuthi labo abalalelayo labo ababukelayo babe yibo abakholisa lokho esikuthulesana kukhulunywa kakhulu ngendaba zokuxhumana kukhumana kana ukamba uchakwathu kuZambia kukhumana sebenzisiwa kwa michina ya masikwano nkathilanga ukuthi zonse ezi zinto ziyandikana iloko ukuthi kuberekera antomwe kuberesigwa ikwa michina ikaphathi nkaulangwa ikuti isadik iberesia ila ma company aendeleza imakani asiene kulichiyandisyo ichakuti kuberesigwe imichina yomwe kube ikujatana ikaphathi nkaulangwa imichina ezi zonse nizilagwasizya ikaphathi ukuthi izonse nizibe isivele sigwa ezi imulo wampasha iboneka eyi ibenjiyo iselela ikwalino tirapheda ibambi ibesukuthi babembabo ibatithula ikunembo.
All right, and to take it over to my co-host, my sister, Masivanda Elsie, coming through to give us who will be coming next for the presentation. Do note, ladies and gentlemen, we do have another 2 panels, and after that, we will be going for our awards tonight. So we want to move swiftly. I beg your pardon, if we have everybody's attention, may I have everyone's attention? All right. So we are going to have our awards tonight. So we do want to move swiftly. So we apologize if you feel we are rushing you, but we are working with time. We would like to be out of here at least by 4:30. Thank you.
Afternoon once again to those who've just joined us. I saw some delegates coming in just this afternoon. Don't worry about her. She's a lioness. You know, lions need attention. When they are passing by, when they are doing whatever they're doing, you just have to show them that you are paying attention, otherwise they get very agitated. We are talking about working together as Africans. We are talking about AI, we are talking about convergence, we are talking about divergence, but at the heart of it all, we are talking about working together and networking. We have so much in common. And I was talking to Valentine and I was saying to him, the one thing that impressed me today, not even the speeches or the panels, but the fact that Mr. Dlamini today decided to wear his national dress. Can we all give him a round of applause? When one looks at him, you cannot even doubt or ask where he comes from. When you look at him already, you think of the king. There's just a few pieces missing, but already you think of the king. So moving swiftly along, we are moving into our next presentation. Valentine, I think you should talk to Mr. Dlamini so that you...
Definitely, I have to do that. We had breakfast together, so a bit of a chat earlier on, and yeah, I'll surprise you later on tonight.
Great.
There you go. All right, moving on, ladies and gentlemen. I think the next presentation represents my first love when it comes to broadcasting, which is radio broadcasting. And the topic shall be Securing Africa's Digital Radio Future, Examination of Practical Collaboration Strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Victoria Buldanova, Director Africa Sputnik, to come forward to the podium and give us a presentation. Let's give you a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, so that she can pick a step nicely as we move on with the program. Let's keep it going. There she is.
Thank you very much.
There, thank you.
Switch it on. Sorry. Good afternoon, dear all. I'm very delighted to participate in this conference of SABA in Zimbabwe. It's an amazing country, amazing conference, and I would like to speak today about Sputnik solutions in AI workflow. Let me present who we are, what we are. First of all, for now, Sputnik reports in more than 30 languages, and we have an African department, and I'm responsible for the African branch of Sputnik, and we broadcast and report in 4 languages, English, French, but also Amharic and Swahili already, and we hope that we will develop this direction, this branch with local languages. We tell stories from the African perspective, and we are developing a large net of correspondents on the continent. Our teams are mostly based in Africa. That's why I think our stories appeal to you. They must be of interest of the African audience. Our radio programs in these languages are available on local radio stations, and we have here in the hall our radio partners, for example, from Zambia, and I know that this radio can be heard also on the territory of Zimbabwe, but we are looking for our Zimbabwean partners also, and I hope we will create a good partnership together. We give floor to African voices, and it is appreciated by our audiences. Let's listen to some of them they speak about us. Please run the video.
Bonjour.
Yes, please.
Bonjour à tous les lecteurs de Sputnik Afrique.
Merci de soutenir l'Afrique. Moi, je pense que vous êtes trop panafricaniste, peut-être.
Welcome to South Africa. I'm happy that you're coming to open an office. I'm happy that you'll be coming to South Africa.
I am confident that Sputnik will achieve its objective, and Ethiopia's government and the House of Federation will continue to provide its support, and I thank you.
Sputnik is very popular and supported by most of the African countries, and indeed the media, is because of its objectivity. But most importantly, it respects sovereignty.
We do believe the work of Sputnik is enriching our understanding, helping African people have a different view of what they used to hear from one source.
I think that we should unban ideas. We will be able to learn more from yourselves about what's happening in these parts of the world.
Господин министр дал высокую оценку работы нашего агентства «Спутник», которое пользуется все большей популярностью, аудитория его расширяется. Нам это, конечно же, приятно.
We will have a voice that will at least articulate the plight of the people as it appears and in the way that it appears undistorted. To get objective reporting that is not biased, that is now going to be a voice of the voiceless.
It does not propel or interfere with the internal matters of sovereign countries.
В современном мире доносить слова правды до аудитории в самых разных странах – это очень важная задача.
Je souhaite donc que les chers lecteurs et toute la maison Sputnik puissent contribuer donc à éveiller la conscience en Afrique et un peu partout dans le monde et aider donc les politiques que nous sommes en train de mener pour créer donc un monde multipolaire, libre et un monde de paix. Bonne lecture à tous et participez à contribuer à tous les niveaux que vous pouvez à créer donc cet espace de paix que nous souhaitons pour notre monde.
What could you wish to our agency, Sputnik?
Success.
Yes. It was a small surprise. Actually, we did this interview last year while the president came to Russia for an economic forum, I think. Yeah. So, in different regions, you know, we have...
Bonjour à tous les lecteurs de...
We have well-equipped offices with local teams of journalists. On the African continent for now, there are 2 representations in Cairo, as you can see, and Addis Ababa. We've opened just opened in February our office in Addis Ababa in presence of the chief of the Ethiopian parliament. Our guys there are working in 2 languages, Amharic and English. They produce radio programs, projects for social media. They cover literally all the events taking place in the capital of the African Union. We are working on other huge projects, office projects in Africa, and we hope that we will open soon some offices in South Africa, in Tanzania, and maybe in western part of the continent. So, here you can see the ways we use AI in our daily work. As a digital media, certainly we apply a lot AI, but when I speak about AI, using AI, I mean, first of all, that we use it to make our work faster while preparing our materials in different languages, because for an international news agency, the speed is one of the key requirements, you know. Modern media must harness AI technologies now, which above all simplify the production processes, making it faster and more productive, and it accomplishes, AI accomplishes the most boring tasks. In radio production, for example, this includes voiceovers and translations into other languages. What we do with AI during our radio production, we voice over news blogs, intros, explainers, re-voiceovers of foreign interviews into the podcast language, translation of interview transcripts, and so on. We use also AI a lot for quick translations in video, for video production and titling, transcription, and video editing. AI, it's not only about doing boring tasks, a job, it's also about being creative. With the help of AI, for example, you can generate music composition based on news stories, and I will give you some examples a little bit later. A good example of AI being used for creative purposes is a huge Sputnik project dedicated to the 18th anniversary of the victory over Nazism. And I will show you some extracts where you will find out how we used AI for this huge project. Could you please run the video?
Not far from where we stand, there is a camp, an extermination camp. You've probably read in the newspapers about the Majdanek camp. Well, this camp is far worse than that one.
It's terrifying to imagine, even for a moment, that in that victorious 1945, that triumphant gun salute might not have sounded.
Et la jubilation du printemps serait déchirée par le bruit des bottes de la Wehrmacht sur les pavés des capitales conquises.
ታሪክ ተገልብጦ ባለ ክሪምሰን ቀለሙ የድል ባንዲራ መውለብለቡ ቀርቶ የስዋስቲካ ምልክት ያለበት የናዚ ጥቁር ባነር የጀርመን ፓርላማ ህንፃ ላይ ተውለብልቦ ቢሆን ኖሮ ምን ይፈጠር ነበር?
So you could see how AI brings photos to life, voiceovers, the video in different languages, including local ones, and how it generates realistic scenes. Because we asked, what if Nazism won? And you know, if you are interested in the programs that we used, I can tell you that script and prompts was made by ChatGPT, voiceover by 11 Labs, animating of photos by HeyGen, and generating photos with general scenes by Midjourney. Here are some products, tools that we use. And you can use it also because it's very, very popular all over the world. Let's pass to another slide. AI can bring favorite historical heroes and figures to life also. We tried to do it with the national hero of Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara. We brought him back to life and asked his opinion about the recently created Confederation of Sahel States. So we tried to ask him what could he tell us about it, and we think the result is very realistic. His speech pattern, appearance, and voice, everything, it was calculated by AI from archival footage of Thomas Sankaра's speeches. And let's see what's the result.
Comrades, the sovereignization of the Sahel, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, is a fire that must burn fiercely but wisely. I see these nations stirring, rejecting the old scripts written by foreign hands. This is the pulse of our revolution, the heartbeat of self-determination. Yet I warn you, the path is treacherous. The imperialists don't sleep. They plot, they bribe, and they sow division. Sovereignty demands unity, not just against external vultures, but against our own corruptible hearts. Progress, I see it in the courage to expel foreign bases, to nationalize resources, but it's incomplete without food sovereignty, without industries we control, and without education that teaches our history, not theirs. The Confederation of Sahel States is a seed, but it must grow roots in the people's hands. The process is alive, but it's a child learning to walk. Protect it, nurture it, but don't let it stumble into the arms of new oppressors. The revolution is not a moment, it's a relentless march. Keep the people at the center, or it's all dust. Homeland or death, we will win.
But you can see that it's an AI creation, definitely. As journalists, when creatively using AI, we must always acknowledge that it was created with the help of AI. The audience must be aware of it. This is an important ethical question and consideration. Otherwise, we risk to join the ranks of those who use AI for malicious purposes. For example, last week, the spokesperson of the Foreign Ministry of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia denounced a deep fake featuring Vladimir Putin's speech and face. And you will see.
Cameroun, peuple du Cameroun, je salue votre courage et votre détermination à bâtir un avenir stable et souverain.
So, yeah, what he's speaking about, it's about the elections in Cameroon. So this deep fake was created for this campaign, elections campaign in Cameroon. And you know, they pretend that Vladimir Putin supported one of the opposition leaders, and our foreign minister spokesperson denounced this fake, deep fake. First of all, I will quote her. It's a classic yet crude fake. It was crafted using artificial intelligence and deliberately injected into the Cameroonian digital space before the official announcement of the results of the presidential election. So she condemned this malicious use of computer technologies and once again reminded everyone of the need to verify information published on social media. And if you look closely at the video, the first thing you should notice is the blurred lip movement. This is obviously the most obvious feature of deepfakes. You should also take a look at lips, fingers, eyes, reflections in objects, as well as the different refractions in the pupils, the deflection of gravity, and the realism of the content. Like this, you will discover, you will find out if it's a deepfake or not. And of course, you should always double-check information with official sources, with comment requests from the field and from officials, because the line between the real and unreal, it often blurs. And just take a look. While the second is fake. So you should always do fact checking. Okay. in our team, we have not only real presenters, we have also our virtual team. And here you can see two figures. One, it's a real personality in Russia. It's a philosopher. His name is Dugin, Alexander Dugin. And he gives us real comments, but we put it in his we put his words in the mouth of his virtual avatar. He speaks his real voice, but it saves him a lot of time, and it saves us a lot of time also. You can see it's a real person, just virtually created.
We've witnessed Israel employing various military technologies unlike anything we've seen before. These involve the use of communication tools, computers, mobile phones, and even pagers to inflict significant...
You can stop, please, the video. Thank you. And he can speak any language you wish, because this is his avatar. But the second one, it's a virtual presenter generated with the help of AI. We call him Juma, and he also does a great job. You can listen to him.
Here is Juma, Sputnik Africa's new virtual presenter. This week, Madagascar has captured the world's attention. The Malagasy army, after overthrowing President Andry Rajoelina, announced the formation of a government with civilian participation. Colonel Michael Randri...
Stop. Thank you. So you see, there are a lot of possibilities to use AI, but the media should always be a barrier that keeps fake information out of the information space. Journalists must double-check, debunk, confirm, and show the truth. This is what we are trying to do.
We've witnessed Israel employing various military...
Yes, and I promised you at the beginning of my speech to show how we use AI for creating music compositions on the basics of news. And here, for example, we tried to make AI make a song about the development of Zimbabwe. Let's listen the first version in English. Yes.
Zimbabwe sun shines on treasures below. Lithium gleams where the rich veins flow. Nickel and graphite, the heart of our land. Wealth is rising, built by...
Yes. So we used a real news about Zimbabwe investment projects, and AI made this song on the base of this news. And the second one, it was created in Shona, but I'm afraid to run it because I don't speak Shona, but you tell me if the translation is okay. Yeah.
Is it okay?
Thank you. Yeah. So this is a new story reworked into a song with the help of AI. Everything, music, words, everything is made with the help of AI. And the result is awesome, I think. And I don't know if the translation is perfect. Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, very good. Okay, so, some words about our radio programs, because we cover a lot of topics regional topics as well as global topics dedicated to geopolitics. But we also cover successful stories of African success, of different personalities. You know, Africa has a lot of inventors, and we try to do these human stories with them and to show their creations. For our cooperation, Radio of Cooperation, maybe you could see if these topics are interesting for your audiences, but normally our partners are very, very glad to cooperate. So it's about formats like BRICS, geopolitics, African traditions, and thank you. Okay. And to wrap it up, I will just show you that we are very happy to participate in competitions, media competitions on the continent, and we were rewarded, for example, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Botswana, and Kenya, and we hope to continue. And we are very proud that our work is appreciated. And here you can see our also podcasts. They all speak about what is happening on the continent as well as in the world, and they try to adapt this content to the African audience. So thank you very much for your attention, and hopefully we'll continue discussing and collaborating. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think my favorite part was the translation. Can we give a round of applause for that translation? I'm no teacher, but I think we'll give it an 80%. Quite Zimbabwe Inopenya, definitely Inopenya. Thank you so much for that. Very refreshing. We are moving on with our program, and as promised, ladies, we will be moving at a very, very fast pace.
Yekem lumhlangano uqhutshwa phansi kwendikimba eqhakathekisa i-artificial intelligence. Abakhulumile njalo ezandleni sibanika izandla ngabanye abaqoqela umhlangano. Ezandleni. Nxa sikhangela i-Sputnik Lab iyafana leZimbabwe la. Elendimi, iZimbabwe lendimi ezilithumi lasithupha 16 of which yizo ezinye zendimi esizikhulumayo namhlanje. Nasi iSputnik yathi dadisa nebo iZimbabwe yakathula kale media policy inolebeka ne-heritage based broadcasting. Inolebeka kale nezwenduji kukosha kwenduji zeZimbabwe. iZBC ndilebeka kwantinova ina mawayiresi nebo anosuka 7 anolebeleka nenduji jinosuka ijo 16 zose yozu zutondeja akale kushingira palume mpera nokubatira palume mpera sama shango amungumgano lesade.
Are we still alive? Are we still vibrant? Okay, growing up, when I was listening to the radio, I'd always know that an ad is about to come on because the presenter would always say, "Regatimbo pinda muchitoro," meaning we are about to get into a commercial break. Allow me at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce one of our partners, Gladys from Bank ABC. Can we give her a round of applause? By the way, Gladys, I think coming from a bank, you know time is money. I'm giving you 10 minutes, which you can make 8. Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. Enough of broadcasting, right? Okay, once again, my name is Gladys Gundas. I'm the branch manager for Bank ABC Victoria Falls. So I think I have to tell you about what we do offer at Bank ABC. At Bank ABC, we do have quite a number of things and products, and some of those things include mortgages. I know most people, you are banking wherever you're banking, and definitely the first question that you have to ask me is, why should I move my bank to where you are? So at Bank ABC, we do have mortgages. We offer mortgages. Say you've got your own stand and you want to build your own stand. We can offer you money to buy that, to build that stand. Also, maybe you've got a property that you know that is being sold and you want it. As long as it has got title deeds, we can assist you to buy that property. Then maybe you've got your property already and maybe you want money based on that property. We can offer you what we call equity release. I know some of you are foreigners here and you may be wondering, what does this help us? We also have mortgages for those in the diaspora. So even if you are based outside Zimbabwe, we can also offer you mortgages and you can invest and have a property in Zimbabwe. Then for those, maybe you're in business or you've got some things that you're doing, we also offer vehicle asset finance. I know some executives, maybe your cars, they are no longer looking like cars for executives. At Bank ABC, at Bank ABC, we can offer you vehicle asset finance and you can buy your latest cars that actually suits executives that I can see in here. Then we also have personal loans. Assuming maybe you want personal loans, we can also offer you personal loans. This we can always discuss. It's not like a cutting stone that maybe the standard is ×8 your salary, but we can always discuss. Say your company is banking with us, we can actually create what we call a group loan scheme, whereby we can set certain standards which are particular to your company based on what they've agreed on. Then also, as Bank ABC, I think for Zimbabweans, most of Zimbabweans that are in here, you can actually acknowledge this. We are present in Pick and Pay kiosks. I'm sure you've seen our kiosk model, whereby in every town you can see a Bank ABC outlet in each and every TM and Pick and Pay. So these TM Pick and Pay, they do not operate like what normal banks do. Normal banks close at 3. But our Pick and Pay kiosks, they operate up to 4:30 p.m. Say you are banking with us and maybe you know the banks have already closed. Our kiosks, they close at 4:30. If you are outside and maybe you want to also send maybe your relatives or maybe your friends or maybe you wish to help Zimbabwe, we also have remittances. You can actually send your money through World Remit, Mama Money, Mukuru. We've got so many, Border Opa. We've got so many remittances that you can use with our bank. Then also, we've got stands as Bank ABC. Assuming maybe you may say, me, I need a stand, or maybe I need a property. Where can I go? Where do I, I don't even have an idea. We do have stands that we already have. In Bulawayo, we've got stands in Hoplin and Hopeville. These are readily available stands. So assuming you are interested in Bulawayo, you can go to, there is Hoplin and Hopeville. We can assist you outside there. We've got our, we are exhibiting outside. So assuming maybe you've got some questions for me, we've got an exhibition outside. Then also in Harare, we do have stands in Tynwald and in Barrington. We had also in Pomona, but I think there are now a few left. So assuming you are interested in our stands, that's also another option that you can take. Should you have any questions or maybe where you need clarity, please feel free to come through to our booth there outside. Then also we are opening Visa cards. Assuming maybe you need a Visa card where you can use anywhere in the country, in the world. Each and any country that you go to, we've got our Visa cards. We can actually open for you outside there. And you can set up everything and we'll give you the card today. Konapo. Thank you very much. Should you have any questions, please feel free to come through. Thank you so much.
Quite important to take a commercial break. That's the fuel that oils the broadcasting sector, and it is through advertisers that we enjoy, their support. And it's through these partnerships with these advertisers that keeps us afloat. All right, moving on with the program right here, and we are moving on now to another panel discussion session where the panel discussion is titled The Trust Mandate, Re-Imaging Regulatory and Policy Outcomes for a Resilient Media Ecosystem in Africa. And ladies and gentlemen, allow me and help me welcome Nada Wachola, Group Executive, Radio South Africa Broadcasting Corporation. Let's give you a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as She makes her way to the podium. So this one shall be an interesting one. Trust being a valuable asset. Policies shaping the future. Regulation keeping us in line. And how can we have sustainability within the media space?
Thank you, Program Director. Good afternoon once again to everyone in the room. I think this is the real graveyard slot. Second day. Second day, and things I can tell are going a bit slow for people. But we're not going to waste a lot of time. We realize that we need to get to wrap up, go and get ready for the awards. My devices have died here, but I'm gonna call the panel members that will be navigating this topic for us. Just give me a minute. We have Tapiwa Mudzamba. If you can please come on stage. Webster Malido. And also Professor Sibongile Mpofu. So you know what they mean when they say dynamite come in small packages. Sorry. Okay, maybe you can. Just bear with me a bit. All right, as the program director has aptly put it, trust in our space is something we spend many, many years building in our brands, especially those who are in the newsrooms or news broadcasting. It's something that it's our promise to our audiences, so to speak. And in this time of AI, it's something that is also getting a little bit fragile for many of us. But especially in the public broadcasting space, we still hear our audiences saying, if it was not on ZBC, it did not happen, you know. We have become that a place where people go to verify and check facts, because there is so much that is happening in our world today. And that's probably, you know, for someone coming from South Africa, that's probably why we have a policeman that has suddenly become the most recognizable face in South Africa, someone who has become famous overnight, General Mkhwanazi, who, when nobody would believe him or nobody would act, you know, he turned to the media. And following that, we're seeing now all these platforms that are, you know, trying to get to the truth. And of course, the media, you know, is following the story very closely, and the audiences are following the story very closely on our platforms because of the trust that we have invested in. But Webster, tell us, what does fair, forward-thinking regulation actually look like in today's fast-changing media landscape? Do you have a mic? There's one.
Can I be heard? Okay, yeah, it wasn't on. Good afternoon, I guess. Yeah, so coming from the regulatory side of the industry, I would start by saying I think when we're looking at fairness and forward thinking in regulations, first of all, I'll start by saying probably we have to start to think about how we strike the right balance between freedom and responsibility. In most of our jurisdictions, I think our constitutions guarantee us, sort of inalienable rights like freedom of expression, press freedom, which really is the anchor rights in terms of the work that we do as media. And I think as regulators, we also want to drive an inclusive and transparent regulatory framework. We do that to make sure that we are enabling the industry, not constraining it. But at the same time, we want to make sure that there's protection of interests for the public or for audiences. So that's very important. But we also want to make sure that fairness is reflected in a consistent regulatory framework. So we apply guidelines or standards that we ask the industry to adhere to fairly and consistently. You can be a big broadcast station or a very small radio station. We will apply, the same, framework when it comes to whether we are issuing a cautionary, sort of advice in terms of your standards, and so that has to be reflected. But most importantly, I think, is to take a more collaborative and partnership-based approach as we interface with the industry. And by that, I mean, as we build and come up with guidelines in our jurisdictions, we do it in a way that I think it's based on a consultative process with the industry, so that we are not imposing, guidelines or standards that are actually, ridiculous for the industry. So that's very important. In terms of, our ability to be forward-thinking as we interface with the industry, I think it's very important for regulators to be enablers of innovation, but also, most importantly, making sure that that is done responsibly. We want to make sure that, I think we're working very closely with the industry to stay close to emerging trends. We've spoken a lot here about, the convergence of technologies and how that is building better capacity and efficiencies in the work of the broadcast sector. AI, we just had demonstrations here. I actually couldn't figure which one was the real fire and the fake one. So that's very important, because we also have to protect audiences from sort of fake news. That's very important. But also, we have also to respond in terms of how we look at our policies and regulations in relation to the evolution of the industry. That also calls us to be more proactive in terms of the regulatory framework. As an example, right now in Zambia, the IBA Act, which is pretty much the law that governs the broadcasting industry in Zambia, is undergoing a repeal and a replacement process. Actually, I just got an update from the team that there was a presentation to Cabinet this morning over that, and we will hear what the next steps are. But what the new act will do is to give us a framework where we can regulate the industry in terms of the state of evolution around technology and innovation. So at the moment, we don't have the capability actually under that act to regulate sort of digital-driven broadcasting. But the new amended act will give us that regulatory framework. So I think in sum, that's what I would say is making sure that we are responsive in terms of regulatory frameworks. So thank you.
Thank you. That was quite a mouthful. Professor Mpofu, in your part of the world, tell us, how do regulators and media players rebuild public trust in an age where misinformation spreads faster than the truth? Or what would you recommend them, to do?
Okay. Thank you, and good afternoon, colleagues. I think one of our director of ceremonies actually said that public trust is an asset, and I actually nodded to that. So public trust for media business, I think, is very key. I think it's one asset that really gives that distinctive competitiveness of media houses. It sets brands apart. It is the foundation for media houses to build fruitful relationships with audiences. So it's very, very important, and its erosion certainly threatens the viability of media business. I think the discussions yesterday, we've been talking a lot about revenue models. How do we enhance media sustainability, especially for national broadcasters? So public trust is really, we need to work so hard to make sure we can earn the trust of audiences. So, for example, this issue of AI and the disruptions that digital revolution has brought onto the fold is really threatened, or it's further threatening, public's belief in national media, in our content. What is it that we can do to make sure we can win that trust, and to make sure that we can play the ideal roles of what journalism needs to play in any society? So really, I think from my end, what I think as a journalism trainer and educator, I think we really need a combination of ethical practices. We also need technological solutions. We also need digital literacy, which is something that was said throughout the discussions yesterday. So I think in Zimbabwe, we are really on the right course, because if we look at our new media policy framework, it really speaks a lot to how we need to enforce ethical principles within our media newsrooms, the entire media ecosystem. The issue of how can we have co-regulation so that all critical players within the media sector play their role of enforcing the journalistic practices that we really need to safeguard if we are to keep or to maintain quality content that helps us to chase that dollar. So it's really, sort of like in a linear format that we really need to earn that public trust so that we can have that quality content that speaks to everyone. Because as national broadcasters, I think in SADC, we really have a mandate to make sure we contribute to building citizenship that can take, public discourse forward, and, we attain the ideals of what journalism ought to do in society. So I think enforcing ethical practices for regulators, we need to work hand in glove with key partners. And when I say key partners, government agencies, you don't need to work in silos. You need to reach out to research think tanks, civic society, the users themselves, so that people understand the need for regulation. Because in as much as we may have regulation, if we don't really understand what it seeks to do, then it defeats the whole purpose of having that level playing field within the media ecosystem in a manner that public audiences trust us and trust our content. We really need to close the gaps that are currently manifesting through, misinformation. We've seen a lot of how deep fakes are really creating havoc out there. And the moment we have those gaps, this is where misinformers then take advantage of that. So we really need to try and work around how can we work together to make sure we can earn that public trust. which is what will help us to chase the dollar. So we really need to come up with issues or steps or stages that we can follow to make sure we are seen to be working around correcting what has been wrong before. I think for media houses, actually, what is important is to make sure that we are transparent in our processes of doing journalism. I think this is what the public needs to know. If we are employing AI, as we've seen, how AI can be used positively in content creation, etc., but we need to understand how far can we go. And we need the public to be aware that we're using AI tools. So I think these are the conversations that need to occur in newsrooms to say, how do we make sure our journalism news gathering processes are transparent in this age of AI and other technologies, so that the consumer is aware of what is AI generated and what is not. I think that is very important going forward. And we also need strengthening of fact-checking mechanisms. I think a lot of panels, the discussions on what is possible on streaming platforms and on all these digital platforms, I think the element of quality control really comes into effect, and we really need to safeguard the professionalism. The practice, we need to safeguard it so that we can continue to enjoy public trust. We can continue to offer that public good that our governments, that our nations really are looking up to us in development and so on. So it's really, for me, a combination of factors involving various actors, platform owners also being robbed into the discussions on who has to do what to make sure there is transparency online. I think the minister did touch on who owns the algorithms, etc. We need to look at all those issues. Who has to do what, so that we can have practical outcomes and recommendation from this platform, I think, from this convention. I think it's something that we need to take to say, what is it that we need to do? All of us, in our various capacities, where we belong, what is it? Because I think we all have a role. Just being here on what we can do to make sure we can contribute towards the proper regulation of our media ecosystem so that we can serve the public good. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. So it looks like AI and digital platforms are here to stay, and everybody is engaging, using them, integrating them in our business as broadcasters. And we're also seeing, independent players, individuals also pushing content on these platforms, and largely there is no regulating them. And in fact, it has become quite a phenomenon that people who are on these platforms, they aim to shock. There's a very irresponsible way of using all these platforms. So how can policymakers keep up with the speed of technology like AI and digital platforms without falling behind? And that question is for you, Tapiwa.
Okay, thank you, Nada, and good afternoon. You will find that the fulcrum of the matter here is that generally technology is evolving at a much faster rate than the legislative framework being implemented by the regulators. So we are then seized with a situation in which the legislation is not speaking to the current trends in terms of technology. So to mitigate against such a risk, regulators should adopt any of the following mechanisms. Number one, we require the regulators to constantly scan the environment in order to understand what emerging technologies are dominating the space. Regulators, they need to understand the platform dynamics, because with evolving technologies, you will find that we have quite a number of platforms that will be coming up and being utilized by the audience. So it is imperative that in fact, the regulators understand how the platforms are being utilized and what underlying technologies are behind those platforms. Regulators will require to have an understanding of the audience behavior, because with the changes in technology, there's also an aspect of changing consumer behavior, which the regulators will require to understand. Then regulators will also require to understand the aspect of the new media formats that will be coming up, as a result of the new technologies. So in this case, regulators will require to stay ahead of the situation, to do what we call forecasting of the media or technological environment, in order to come up with the informed legislation, rather than not following up and ending up doing what we call reactive attendance, or coming up with a reactive legislation. Then number two, regulators are supposed to embark on internal capacity building. Because when the people who work under the regulators are not properly or adequately skilled, then there is risk that they may not be in a position to understand what regulations to put. So the aspect of capacity building in emerging areas such as data science, AI, and the likes will then become imperative for regulators to stay ahead of the situation. Then when it comes to capacity building, you find that regulators will require to have a deliberate approach in terms of partnering with key institutions, such as research institutions or organizations that endorse technical standards and adoption of systems in this world. For instance, there is no technology that comes into play before it is endorsed by the International Telecommunications Union. So by having the regulators sending their technical people or their staff to attend some of the seminars, forums, conventions, and any other international programs that are undertaken at such a national, international scale, they will have a tendency to lag behind. Then the regulators will require to collaborate with critical stakeholders, starting with critical stakeholders at national scale. So you find that with the convergence of technology, it is not good enough for a regulator, say in the broadcasting field, to come up with a regulatory framework for emerging technologies such as AI, yet the subject matter affects quite a number of sectors. For instance, AI will be affecting telecoms, will be affecting broadcasting sector, will be affecting energy, agriculture. You mentioned the areas. So there's need for stakeholder engagement and collaboration, so that at the point of formulation of the legislation, it has to speak broadly to attend to all the areas within a nation. Then at international scale, you will find that the regulators will require to come up with a collaboration and in fact global cooperation, so that they also adopt standards that are being developed at an international scale. Then we have the issues to do with facilitating or promoting innovation. So you find that when it comes to legislation, we have different kinds of legislation. For instance, we have what we call prescriptive legislation, whereby the regulators will prescribe to the industry what they are supposed to follow. But you find that it's not everything that require prescription. There are some elements of regulation that do not necessarily require to be regulated. So what regulators can do in this case is that they can come up with a risky profile to segment the risky profile of all the areas they are supposed to regulate. Then for high risk areas, That's where they are supposed to put focus for legislation which is prescriptive. But for low-risk areas, it is imperative that they just give guideline for institutions to do self-regulation. Then for medium risk areas, there may be need for co-regulation with different stakeholders. In a nutshell, that's what I can say with regards to what regulators should do in order to remain ahead of the situation and avoiding to lag behind. Maybe before I close, there's also an issue of facilitating or promoting innovation. You know, there are certain regulations that impede research and development. So as a regulator, if you don't want your area of jurisdiction to lag behind, there is need for regulations that encourage innovation, investment, research, you name all the things associated with the migration of tech and adoption of it thereof. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tapiwa. But you know, as someone who works for platforms, ZBC, how have you used your own policies to ensure that you maintain that trust as a currency that you trade with your listeners and your viewers?
Okay, so you find that as a public broadcaster in the land, we operate under the guidelines of the Broadcasting Services Act, which stipulates the number one, the type of content that we should program or produce rather, and the way in which we should produce that content. So you find that there is certain type of content which is restricted, which we are not supposed to produce as a public broadcaster. By virtue of us being the main agent of peace building, unifier of the nation and so on. So based on the understanding of that legislation, we then zero in and narrow down our operations to ensure that we always remain compliant and avoid breaking the regulations that is guide the way we are supposed to operate.
All right, thank you. Program Director, I'm not sure if we have time to take questions from the floor. Is there anyone with a burning question that you would like to ask the panelists? There is a question at the back, and I think it's from the regulator from South Africa. Can we get a mic to the lady at the back? If you can just introduce yourself, ma'am, before you ask the question.
Good afternoon. My name is Bongi Weshawane. I'm working for ICASA. I'm the licensing officer in the broadcasting section. So I just want to ask the gentleman who has just presented now, because I heard him talking about content that doesn't need to be imposed or regulated, where broadcasters, they are already aware that this content needs to be broadcast by a public broadcaster, because we have a pushback most of the time from the licensees. So that's why we develop so many regulations that governs the different sectors of broadcasting. Yeah, thank you. And another thing, when you say regulators needs to be do not have a reactive approach, it is so difficult because you find there are so many people involved. There is a lot of red tape. Sometimes the government needs to give us a directive first before we can even consider reviewing any regulations or maybe issuing invitations for people to apply for licenses. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. You want to take that?
Yeah, that's okay. So I will start by responding to the second question to do with okay, so to do with the rate at which regulators are supposed to be catching up with emerging tech. So you find that when regulations are implemented reactively, it is a sign that the regulator is lagging behind in terms of implementation. That's the first signal that can tell you that we have lagged behind. So hence the reason why I mentioned various ways by which the regulator can catch up and be ahead of the situation. I must indicate this, that if you follow, in fact, the developments under the International Telecommunication Union, I'll just speak under the field of broadcasting. So you find that the International Telecommunication Union has what we call study groups. So before any technology is passed out anywhere in the world, in as far as broadcasting is concerned, there are a number of study groups that work on that particular invention and assess the risks and the pros and cons of having it until a certain stage when it is adopted at ITU level. That is when the equipment vendors and the system suppliers who then start to manufacture equipment aligning with those adopted standards. So if a regulator is active enough and proactive, he or in fact the regulator is supposed to be part of the ITU study groups, so that before the technology is passed or adopted, the regulator will be having an understanding of what the future might look like if the novelty is adopted. So by so doing, the regulator will not lag behind. But if the regulator does not collaborate at international scale or have that kind of cooperation, then there is a great risk that the regulator will be following tech when it is adopted and at the point of use by the audience. That's my submission on that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Sapiwa. I think, we can agree that there will always be this push and pull between the regulators and the broadcasters, with broadcasters always looking at innovating, coming up with new things to attract audiences and revenue, and the regulators trying to protect the public. But I think we all have a common goal of really, protecting the public and ensuring that we deliver credible information to the public, which, works to build trust. I think as we wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, I will go to you, Mr. Malido, Webster Malido, to say a few words, your last words.
Thank you. I would just say that I think the way, in this room, it's fair to say we can agree that broadcast regulation has evolved from taking a more punitive, reactive approach to a more partnership, collaborative, and proactive approach. That is very important because I think where the industry is at, we don't want to constrain as regulators. We want to enable. We want to moderate, as you're saying. We want to find a balance between protecting the creative freedom of the industry, but also the public interest. I think we want to also make sure that we do it in a way that the industry then continues to thrive and grow, continue to be diverse, but most importantly that especially traditional broadcast media, we want it to stay credible because that's what really it brings to the table. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webster Malido, Director General, Independent Broadcasting Authority. I think we should give him a round of applause. Prof, your last words.
Okay, thank you, Nada. I think I would say that I think we need to have a change of narrative, the way we view media regulation. I think the public needs to understand the essence of why there is need for media regulation. I think that will certainly help in terms of compliance. The public will then understand that media regulation is not there to just restrict access to information and so on. I think there is need for that public awareness. And I also think that there's need for internal harmonization of, the laws that are outdated or that are not catching up with what's going on in view of digital revolution. We can start internally, but then we also need to go broader within SADC so that there is that harmonization, which have been debated since yesterday, so that we can be able to integrate, regional kind of media regulation. I think that's very important, and that speaks a lot to collaboration amongst critical stakeholders. And of course, I think the essence of research, I think the research element is something that has been lacking. I didn't hear much of it throughout our conference, but I think research is a really missing link. In all our, the theme of this session, we really need to bring in researchers that helps us to understand what this technology is before we can try and come up with solutions. So I think through collaborations, if they are strengthened, I think SABA can really assist regional broadcasters to really play their pivotal part in development. Thank you.
A very important point you're raising, the issue of research, Prof. Professor Sibongile Mpofu is one of the board directors at Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. Thank you so much. Tapiwa?
Okay, my final word is that it's just an encouragement for regulators to be proactive and constantly scan the environment to ensure that they remain ahead of the situation. That's in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That was Tapiwa Mudzamba, Chief Operating Officer at Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. We have come to the end of this session. You've been a great panel. I wouldn't like to keep you for long. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Sibonge nini? Okathesi sizacela board chair ZBC, hello, CEO ZBC, Director Chisoko for a photo session. Thank you. Yeah, kukhulunywa umsebenzi oqhakathekileyo in the age of AI. Kukhulunywa ngokuqhakatheka kwe regulation. Kukhulunyiwe ngemithetho ekhona engancindezeli ukusetshenziswa lokuhanjiswa kwembiko. Zose zunu yozuzwa leberekwa kale kuti banokondesa indebo banokula kuti bebebo banotobeleja milawu. Kale zilokosha kuti kube ne public trust kubimba munozo zinobebiswa zose yozo zinotobela kale imali zose zingotiwa nenzira iliyo konke lokhu kungenziwa ngendlela eqondileyo imali izangena kuma nkampani ezokusakaza singachithi isikhathi siza qhubekela siya ku next session ekhuluma nge media broadcast workflows and end-to-end automation solutions. Anil Kumar, we Workflow Labs. Let's put together our hands for Mr. Kumar.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Anil Kumar from Workflow Labs. So we are a company based in India, and we have products and solutions for traditional broadcast and all the broadcasters as well. So we are OEM partner with Dell and also AWS partner. And we also have another company called Kartavya in India. So we started our journey way back in 2006 and started into broadcaster 15 years ago. That is around 2009-10. And we founded Workflow Labs in 2017 when we decided to go to the global market. So traditionally what we do is we have software products which will enable the broadcasters to create their news, ingest, play out, and manage their entire automation. So right now, at this point of time, we have 350 plus customers spread across Indian subcontinent and Middle East and ASEAN as well. Okay, so today I'm trying to address like the challenges faced by broadcasters. So what are the challenges are like digital transformation, growing streaming platforms and changing audience preferences. Additionally, so multi-platform consumption, there is the linear broadcasting or linear way of consumption is not the only way now. So there are many different ways or arenas of consuming the content, and rise of OTT and streaming. And since the traditional broadcast always relies on traditional IP or SDI or baseband, so transitioning from the traditional broadcast to IP based, because IP is the catching up everywhere. So how to overcome and transition from traditional broadcast to the new IP based broadcasting. Plus, in order to do that, it always comes with the cost, both in terms of technology and in terms of production. So how to overcome these challenges is moving towards the hybrid model. That is maintaining the regular linear traditional model plus incorporating into the OTT platforms as well. And rather than following the traditional way of content production and broadcasting, enabling or embracing the workflow-driven and data-driven technology providers, so that as a broadcaster, you will always be ahead of the curve. And one more thing is partnering with technology providers, which are already have a futuristic way of providing solutions. And the last is embracing and adopting to tech changes for transitioning from regular or linear broadcasting to the new ways of broadcasting your content. So why Workflow Labs? At Workflow Labs, we have been doing the software solutions using open source solutions. So all our applications and products, they run on Linux platform, which is an open source, which is highly secure, robust, and cost effective. There is no cost in terms of you don't have to invest on your Microsoft OS or in your Mac OS. All our softwares or applications runs on Linux platform. Having said that, in terms of technical side, if your technical team is not well versed with Linux, they don't have to worry, because we come up with the platforms where everything can be managed using web applications. So within a small browser, maybe a Google Chrome or any other browser, you can manage and restart and maintain all the services with little knowledge of your IT team. And open architecture. So we have a complete set of products, right from ingest, content production, playout, automation, asset management, and archival. So even though we have a complete ecosystem of the system, we have built our solutions in an open architecture. That means if any broadcaster is going with our ingest or playout and they are already having a newsroom system which may be Octopus or iNews, they don't have to worry because we already have integrated with all the available players in the market. And fail-safe design. So all our solutions have been designed in a fail-safe manner. Because in broadcasting, every second matters. That is what we believe. So there is no room to fail even for a second. So for that matter, all our solutions are designed in a fail-safe manner. And so going forward, I mean, right now and in the future also, everything slowly moving towards the cloud and remote working. So all our solutions, we have enabled the remote working and also cloud. If you want to move forward to the cloud in future, we are already there. Or you want to maintain your traditional in-house or on-prem solutions, we are there. And another advantage with us is we have like approach is like bring your own hardware. So there is no vendor locking, no need to invest on any legacy hardwares. So it can be a normal Dell IT server or HP IT server or any normal IT server which is commercially like you can buy yourself and we build it for you and we install our softwares over there and make sure it runs for you. And another advantage with that is you can get the local support and local warranty with your hardware supplier. So you don't have to rely on us to, whenever there is a hardware issue, you don't have to rely on us. You can directly get the support from maybe Dell or HP or any other supplier who you are familiar with. And proven track record. So nearly like 15 years of research and development, and all these solutions which I'm going to show you in the next coming slides are built in-house. So we are not selling or buying any third-party solutions and packaging and selling. So we have a very strong development team. I am being basically a programmer coming from technical background, now moved into the sales and business development. So we have a very strong team of technical knowledge and customization in terms of adapting to the African market. We are open to do that. And we have serving like 350 customers over the period of 15 years. And last but not the least, everything comes with the cost, so the cost advantage. So that's what is another USP of us. So you don't have to spend a huge amount while buying our software. So we provide you a very premium software solutions at a very relatively lower cost. So what do we have is end-to-end automation solutions. This is in context of news production and your channel production, broadcasting solutions. So what do we have is a Fusion. It is a media asset management and automation solution. Nitro is our video server, it's a playout server and ingest server. Blaze is our NRCS, newsroom, news production system. Pi is our PCR and MCR, your channel automation and channel playout. Newsflow is our mobile app plus a web platform which is used for media gathering or content gathering. Cobalt is our transcoder. It's a file-based transcoder where you can use it with combination of any different types of softwares or different solutions, not only with us, where you can use it for a simple transcoding to any number of large scale of transcoding. Gravity is our archive solution, which is for HSM. That is, if you are using LTOs and if you are still using the LTO, in order to manage that, you need a gateway for that, and we have that too. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to cover across the spectrum, right from content ingest, recording to news production or content production, and play out, archive, and manage. So that is what we do. Nitro. So Nitro is a video server. As you can see, it is a one single RU server. In one RU server, you can do up to 8 channels. That is, you can do either 8 ingest or 8 playout or vice versa. So from single one channel to up to 8 channel of HD playout or ingest you can do. So in India, we have a collaboration with Dell, so all our servers are being manufactured by Dell. So we sell Dell hardware in India, but outside India, what we do is we ask our partners or our customers, we give them the specifications and the hardware requirements, so they can buy directly from Dell. So the advantage of that is, so there is no dependency on us. Not only Dell, if you have interest with any other suppliers, you can also go with that. And another advantage is if you are going with Dell or anyone, so you can get the warranty on hardware for up to 5 years or 7 years, get an extended warranty. On the software side, we are flexible. That is, we can be like one-time licensing costs. You pay once and you use as many years as you want. And we, with SLA in place, we will keep upgrading or give the upgrades whenever there is an upgrade of technology. So we will be providing that to you as well. So Nitro, again, it runs on Linux. So everything will be running on Linux. So no need to worry about the security or the stability on the aspect. And it also comes with built-in graphics. So when I say built-in graphics, you can run your logos, ticker, graphics, L-band, and so on. There are many. And this server is bidirectional. That is, it is not necessarily that when you buy for ingest, you don't have to only configure it for ingest. You can either configure for ingest or play out or preview, any combination, any mix and match you can do based on your requirement. So the server will be configured or built according to the customer need rather than selling a box item. And multiple storage options. There are a variety of storages available in the market, and we have worked with everyone. We have integration with everyone, and we are open to work with any types of storages available in the market. And another aspect is edit and play while ingest. So why this is required is, in a broadcasting environment, so like I said, every second matters. So you don't have to, your editors, your video editors, they don't have to wait until the ingest of maybe a 15 minutes or 1 hour content is finished. Within 15 seconds of ingest started, they can drag and drop the file into their timeline and start editing. So that is supported by Nitro. And similarly, if there is any program and you want to play back, within 15 seconds, you can put the file into your playlist and start playing. So no need to wait until the entire ingest process is finished. And the server is 4K ready. In future, if you want to upgrade your entire thing into 4K, the server is already 4K ready. And IP as well. So we provide IP, and just to give an example, this is a back panel of the server, and we use AJA as an I/O card. So all you need to do is you buy a server from any IT service provider and buy a AJA card, and we will build a server for you. So the complete control lies on the customer rather than the dependency on us. So Nitro also supports SCT or SCTE 104 add insertion. So if you are running still on baseband or SDI and you want to monetize and you want to do if there are any turnaround channels or you want to insert ads in between, so we support SCTE 104 add insertion or replacement. Plus, also now we are powered by SCTE 35. That is the latest one, where you can stream it to your social media platforms, your CMS, or your OTT platforms. So we support both RTMP, HLS, SRT, MPEG-TS, and the latest SMPTE 2110 as well. So on the technology side, we have covered right from the traditional SDI to the latest technology as well. So okay, so Nitro also supports closed captioning, that is subtitling. So in India, we have a lot of states and hundreds of languages. So subtitling is one of the important aspects when you are sharing or broadcasting your content across borders. So that way we have a support for subtitling as well, in case you want to embed subtitle into your playout. So it's already available. So that is about Nitro. So next is Pi. So Pi, why we named it Pi is because P stands for playout, I for ingest. So technically also, it's a way like we have an automation solution where we have enabled both IP as well as SDI. So as the slide indicates, in terms of playout, ingest, and graphics, we cover SRT, HLS, even NDI. Those who are familiar with NDI, and SMPTE 210. Plus, we also maintain the traditional SDI or the broadcast SDI as well, baseband as well. Plus, the graphics is completely on HTML5 based. So, creating simple graphics, everything will be controlled on your side. So why Pi is because it's a solution built for tomorrow. So that means Pi is flexible in terms of deployment. It can be hosted on-prem or it can be hosted on cloud. So today you may be having everything on your premise. Tomorrow you want to move towards cloud. So the Pi supports that. So it can support both on-prem and cloud deployment as well. And we support all the standards. Plus integrations. Integrations in terms of any third-party solutions, maybe switcher, router, or any other third-party solutions. We are open to do that because it's completely API-based. And we support ad insertion, both on your linear and also on the OTT side, and completely web-based. So you can access it from anywhere and monitor it from anywhere because it's web-based, and also in case if you want, it can be hosted on cloud. And scalable. So today you can start with single channel and you want to scale it further as you grow. So Pi supports that. And it's already 4K enabled as well. So that's why do you choose Pi? Next is, I'm running out of time. They are asking me to speed up things. So Fusion. Fusion is a digital asset management solution. So it's a platform where we call it as an amalgamation of MAM, PAM, and DAM. So any content which is in digital format, audio, video, images, PDF, documents, you name it, all the documents which are in digital format you can manage using this one single platform. It is cloud enabled, so means you can host it in cloud or on-prem. Plus, if you have any local storage, maybe a NAS or an LTO or a disk archive, plus if you have a cloud storage, if you are already subscribed to maybe AWS or Google Cloud or maybe your any other local cloud provider, so we can integrate and give it to you. So the complete control lies on your hand, and again it's scalable. Maybe you have as a small broadcaster, you may have very little content, and you keep on growing and you increase your content. It can be scalable, both in terms of servers and in terms of the storage expansion. And we create hybrid workflows. That is, you may be having a lot of maybe terabytes or petabytes of content, but there will be certain content which is very important for you, or you want to share it to across border or maybe different countries or different regions. So in that case, you can keep a copy of your content on your on-prem, and certain copies you can keep it on cloud. Or you can have multiple copies of the same content which is important, or you can have certain content on-prem and certain content on cloud. So the workflow can be flexible and hybrid. And we work with all types of storages available in the market. So there are many other modules in the Fusion, maybe transcoder, social media publishing directly, and API based. You may be having any different system which you want us to integrate. We are open to integrate, and we also have plugins for your editing suites like Adobe or DaVinci, Resolve, or FCP. So you can access, search the media, whatever you have, rather than accessing from your storage. You can directly open Fusion inside the editing system. Okay. So next aspect is on the AI, so which we have enabled in our Fusion. why we have enabled AI is to do the enriching the metadata in terms of face recognition, object recognition, scene recognition. So it's a scene-based metadata. You maybe have 1 hour video, the AI runs on it, and it will create smart clips, sub-clips. So you can use it as a promo or a small teaser, so it will generate for you. So you, as a user, you don't have to worry about creating and editing 1 hour video. So it will give you the snapshots or the teasers and sub-clips, which you can use it to push it into your different digital platform. Plus, we also do speech to text. And all languages, we support a lot of languages, and object recognition and scene recognition as well. So next, moving on, is Blaze is a newsroom system where news production team can use it in a collaborative way. The reporters, journalists, editors, and your producers, they can all collaborate in single web-based platform, and it is MOS-enabled, the industry standard protocol, where you can communicate dynamically, and real-time changes you can do, which can send to your teleprompters and your graphic systems and your playout systems. And Blaze, we have also enabled AI in Blaze, where we are not replacing anyone using AI. We are empowering them. How we are empowering them is by allowing them to create stories and summarize. If you have if your editors or journalists have come up with a story, you want to summarize that, you just use the AI on top of that. It will give you the summary of that, and fact-checking, because there are a lot of fake news running around. So you want to know the authenticity of the story, whether it is true or not. So AI will help you to do the fact-checking, whether the story is real or is it fake. And grammar check. And why grammar check is important is, so we do the translation as well. So you have a story in English and you want to translate it into your local languages. Once you do that, what it will do is it will reframe, and also it will do the grammar checking. So in that way, AI is helping you to speed up your news creation process, and maybe up to 80% of your news production or news creation time will be reduced using the AI. And these are some of the third-party devices we have worked with. We have worked with almost everyone available in the market, if you are familiar. So you name it, we have integrations with them. And Newsflow is our mobile platform, and where you can use it instead of FTP or WhatsApp or email in order to gather the news or content. You can use a mobile platform and web platform, which is integrated with the newsroom system and also the MAM system. And it's API based. It's not necessary that you have to buy Newsflow with our newsroom and MAM. No, it's not like that. It can work standalone with any different newsroom system and MAM system, provided they are ready for API integrations. So it's a one media gathering platform where it's a unified way of gathering your news on content. So reporters and journalists on the field, they can send directly into the newsroom system within seconds. So Cobalt is a file-based transcoder where we have automated workflows, and it's scalable right from single node, one job to hundreds of jobs. It can execute parallelly. And we also use GPU acceleration. So these are some of our customers. Just to highlight, the complete list of our customers are available in our website. And just to highlight on that, just to highlight on our capabilities, one of the major case studies, that is one of the largest playout facilities we have executed in India. It's a 500 TV channels in one single facility. So they are using 120 Nitro servers, 25 Fusion servers, and 12 transcoders, all put together in one single facility. So they are managing 620 ports and 120 channels. It's a Government of India initiative where they do education and e-learning across India in multiple languages. So we have an office in India and office in Kuala Lumpur, and we have a partner in South Africa, so we have a local presence as well. So you can reach out to my partner who is based in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We say I hope I get it correct. Danyavad Aniukuma. There you go. Means thank you. All right. There you have it. A presentation really looking at the different technologies that can be used and adopted in modern broadcasting and providing solutions and efficiency in that regard.
Definitely, as we are beginning to end today, we have one last panel. Can you hang in there? One last panel to go. At this moment, we are going to be talking about infodermic frontline, defining roles and battle plans in the fight against misinformation. And our moderator, I would like to call upon the Chief Executive Officer for Broadcast Media Africa, Mr. Benjamin Pius.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, how are we getting on? So far, so good? As my lady said, we're almost there. This is 5 o'clock, so the plan is this. We'll try and do a panel, and we'll try and see if we can fast track this panel for half an hour. The aim is to try and leave here by 5:45. That's the goal. We're all going to work together to achieve this. So after the panel, I'm just going to move straight to the closing sequences. All right, we'll try and cover that for 15 minutes, which means what we've been doing for the past 6 years, traditionally, which is the SABA members' report, whereby each SABA member comes up to the stage to tell us what they've been doing in the past year and how they've been faring. Unfortunately, we will have to let that slide, unfortunately, for this year, so we can catch up with time. We are under strict instructions from the hotels that we have to transform this place for our dinner. And I think my vice president, if you ask me, Saba report or dinner, which one would you choose, guys? So you see. So that's how how we're going to do it. So we're going to try and work together. So without much ado, I want to go into my panel, which is going to be talking about infodemic frontline, defining roles and battle plans in the fight against misinformation. This is going to be as short as possible because it's building on the last panel. And joining me in this panel discussion is Mr. Nikita from ROT. Nikita, please can you join me in the front here? Danis from ZIFM stereo. Do I have Stanley Similo in the room? President Stanley Similo, please take a seat. Thank you. No, it's not. And then Dennis Shewa, my boss, can you also join us? When we have, please take a seat, sir. When we have Mr. Similo, can we please give me a nudge so I can invite him up here? So, panelists, you are going to help me out so we can make this as quick as we can, as well as impacting as much knowledge and have as much discussion as we can in this space. So let's get to the rub of it. First, I want you to give me a quick introduction of yourself and a quick take on what is misinformation. Then I will jump to Mr. Shiwa because people know you a little bit. Introduction about yourself, my DG, and then a quick take on what we mean by information. Then I will allow you to say your version of what we mean by information, and then we can move from there. Okay, please go ahead, sir.
All right. My name is Dennis Dube. Most people call me Danny. I'm the station manager for ZFM Stereo, a national radio station here in Zimbabwe. I've been working there for 13 years, and I like to believe that I have a little bit of an understanding of broadcast media when it comes to radio, but I've really been enjoying the conversations, especially when it comes to public broadcasters. On the question of what is misinformation, of course we have the standard definitions, false information or false data, false news, but I think we can expand that definition even more. I think most of us are probably aware that there are actually active disinformation campaigns. And very often they are not outright lies, they are more about agenda or understanding or way of viewing the world. So I think disinformation really encompasses such a large range that probably different people would define differently. But ultimately, it's about driving agendas or trying to get the public to view things in a way that is not entirely accurate.
Okay, excellent. I will come back to you for some concrete examples of how you will contextualize your version of what misinformation is. Dr. Choa, please.
I am Dennis Chirwa. Behind me, I am the Chief Executive Officer for Malawi Digital Broadcast Network Limited. This is a signal distributor for Malawi. Before being there, I was in the Ministry of Information, responsible for policy making for the media team. And in this case, I'm supposed to look at misinformation. You know, in the society, sometimes when we live, sometimes we try to communicate things that are not true, not because we deliberately want to communicate that is not true, but we're not very sure of not verified. And this has been the trend in some cases, that people share, especially on the things that maybe you have learned of someone. You have heard someone or something, and then you keep on sharing the story without verifying of what, if that information is really true. So trying to carry out information without necessarily verifying and giving out, not knowing that it is false. So this is the challenge that sometimes goes on. Of course, it makes good stories for chatting, but in the same sense, sometimes trying to destroy the people.
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, Nikita. Go.
Yes, so Nikita from RT. Well, I can only agree with the colleagues because misinformation and disinformation, these are two different things, right? And misinformation is when you provide information that is false, that is not true, but you do it unintentionally, like you rightfully said. But I think in our panel we're going to be also talking about disinformation, because this is even more, this bears even more danger to the overall media context. But misinformation is just not checking, double checking, triple checking your facts, and then putting it out online, and people just get fooled because of that, but unintentionally.
So unintentional, but disinformation is intentional. And that's the reason why we try to avoid that. We hope that as broadcasters, we are not actively engaging in disinformation. We want to focus on misinformation, which then brings us to the issue of how does newsroom go about in this day and age conducting, making sure that each piece of information that they are going to be putting out, how does it get fact-checked in a way that meets the deadline in the newsroom and that helps them to achieve their goal. All right, let me come to you, my friend. What would you say will be the processes that we need to put in place, or how do we tackle the issue of misinformation, especially when it comes to providing news to our audiences?
I think one of the first things worth mentioning is that the goal should not be to try and disprove misinformation that is out in the public. The goal should always be to put forward what is verified and true information, and then place that forward as a gold standard by which audiences can then judge what is misinformation versus what is true. In fact, most of us are very likely in here, we're from reputable media organizations, which means that we have built a trust with our audiences. Meanwhile, a lot of us will probably be complaining about the loss of audiences to social media influencers, the loss of audiences to people who have, earlier it was mentioned about podcasts. While those have their place obviously in a world that wants to consume media online, they don't have the same stringent steps as to verifying information. I think probably the one thing that I would say would be an extremely important step, and I see it happening in many newsrooms in Zimbabwe, and I assume in many other places, is if the source of your news is social media, you're communicating to your audiences that they can just skip you and go directly to social media.
Right. So looking at it from that point of view, let me now go to the Director General of NBC and the President of SABA. You're welcome, sir. We are talking about misinformation. And how do you avoid it? How do you make sure that you put systems, processes, and things in place, especially when disseminating things, not because you are doing it maliciously, which is disinformation, but because you don't have the capacity to do the right checks. First, what is your take on the whole concept of controlling or being able to control information and not getting out information that are wrong? Well, how in your context within the NBC and within the SABA framework are you putting in place to make sure that journalists and media practitioners are able to give out information in the time that is right and that is factual? And how are they able to do that? What are you doing in that space, sir?
Thank you very much. Quite a good and very important point, particularly today where social media has sort of like taken over the narrative of what is current and what is trending. Now, as public broadcasters, I'll just focus on what we do at the NBC. We have a centralized news structure with the head of news running it, reporting into the chief of programs. And at any event, if there's anything that they're unsure of as to what they will do, they will contact me as the editor-in-chief, but that's very rare. It would only be if they feel the story, they're not too sure how to handle it. So in terms of us getting the news, it is our responsibility when we receive. We cannot just take it at face value. And that speaks to fact-checking. If you don't do that and you run for every little story that you get, you will end up either in court or you will have to come back and apologize. So we have an inbuilt system where the head of news together with the editors supporting that value chain from the assignment editor to the output editor, they must make sure that whatever story they're running, the aspect of credibility is the first thing that you go with. Secondly, the right to reply is quite an important aspect as well. Because of late, if I speak to Benjamin and there's something that he might have done and we don't come back to him to give him the right to reply, what typically will happen, that person will just go to social media and say, but the NBC is a very unfair, autocratic, this is what has happened, and I didn't even get the chance to get to that. So we put a premium on what we need to do. We do have our own editorial policy framework that guides us, and then we have a style book as well that dictates how you treat stories from where they are generating from. But in today's world, any newsroom that does not have an element of fact-checking, you will end up with cases against you where you will have to pay a lot of money. And that should not just be talking. You must walk that talk in order to understand that there is a matter that is of this concern. And what gives me comfort as Director General of the NBC, we find that in Namibia, when stories are running, because others are quick, they want to be the ones that lead in terms of breaking news. We have a situation today where even on social media, people will ask, what is the NBC saying? So we have become a point of validation as well. That is good, but it does put a lot of pressure in terms of what you need to do. So that when you come, you can also not come now with your own vision as to what was happening. You need to speak to the truthfulness of what that particular story would be.
Excellent, and that's even more poignant in the day that we live in, which is defined by artificial intelligence and people using AI systems to generate all sorts of information, and we have to be careful. Nikita, let me come to you. Within the space of ROT, and I ask this question advisedly, how do you make sure that the content that you are putting out, what are those things that you do to make sure that these are properly fact-checked? Because the convenient concept that we have is, oh, maybe because it's coming from ROT is biased. So how do you make sure, and how do you make sure that these are proper information that are not colored in any way? What are those processes that you put in place to make sure that that happens?
So basically it starts with the people who put out the content itself, so the producers, right? Well, it's obvious that when we hire people for being the producer in the newsrooms, they usually come, 99% of the time, they come from the journalistic background, right? I mean, from the journalistic faculties of different universities across the country. And in some of these universities, you already have, as a student, you got the basis of fact-checking craft. So when we hire them, they already got the actual idea, why is it important. Next, you obviously have to look at the source. Like my colleague rightfully said, if it's social media, you gotta not double check, but triple check. Unfortunately, social media is not held accountable for what they say sometimes, right? So you gotta be very careful with that. But also, like Mr. Samilo said, there should be a chain, and what we have is a chain of people who double and triple check after each other, right? So we got the producer, we got the executive producer, we got the head of news, and on each level, each person looks with a fresh, with a fresh sight. They look at the piece of news, and then they decide if it's fake or not. So these are the three pillars: the education, the chain of people, and the sources.
All right, I'll stay with you for a minute and move to the issue of the education and the training of the staff. What sort of training do you expose your journalists and media to so that they know organically that the old issue of being able to make sure the stories they are telling is not misinforming the audience is for real? What are those training procedures and training systems that you currently have in ROT that your journalists are enjoying and that broadcasters also hear if they want to come plug into?
Yeah, that's a good point that we actually have these courses not only inside RT for our journalists, but also for the outside audiences and in Africa as well. So you can come join to learn more about it. But basically, there are many things, and we got a lot of speakers who've been fact-checking information for the past 20 years. And they give the examples of, for instance, of a piece of news that comes from a very reputable source of information, very reputable media, and then they deconstruct that piece of news saying that this is not true, this is true, this is not true, showing exactly step by step why every single media organization, no matter how big and how reputable it is, can actually make mistakes. You can learn more about it from our professionals at RT Academy, and I'll be happy to to link you up to them. Yes.
Right. So if you want to get involved with RT Academy, I'm sure people already know. They will be in touch with you. Dennis, so do you think that journalists and media practitioners, do you think they have the right support within our spaces in Africa to be able to do what they need to do? Because they don't literally want to put out content that misinformed. But do they have the right tools, the right support? What's your opinion, specifically from maybe your workplace and generally if you pan out to cover the entire region and indeed the entire continent? How do you weigh in on that?
There's a yes and no element to that question. I'll start with the yes side. In terms of do they have the right support? So in our organization, we have a similar structure has been highlighted as well from the NBC and as was mentioned at RT, where we have editor-in-chief, and under the editor-in-chief, there's several editors, and there's a lot of chains that can assist any journalist to ensure that by the time a story is published or broadcast, then it is being fact-checked along the chain. But the reason I would say no is because there's a lot of pressure on journalists to be first with a story. That's what shows how good of a journalist you are, because you broke the story. That's the pressure that exists. Meanwhile, we have so many influencers and sometimes just regular citizen journalists who they don't bother to check or verify. They're essentially gambling. They'll put the story out there. If it's not true, oh well, doesn't matter. But if it's true, I was the first. you can't compete with that. So I think if we're able to put in place support that helps them to change that mindset from wanting to break the story to being the anchor that verifies a story. In fact, to be able to provide the real information and the quotes from the source of the story rather than to be the person who put the rumor out there.
My DJ, I'll come to you to weigh in on that as well. But first, Mr. Dennis, what do you say to the whole issue of being able to make sure that our media practitioners, our journalists in the media space, in the broadcast media space, when they put out a news item or a piece of information, they are able to say confidently that this item that they are putting out, to the best of their knowledge, is not going to misinform people. What I'm saying is, when they have principle that tells them to put out information that misinform people, ethically, what should a journalist do, in your opinion?
Thank you very much. Maybe before I answer that one, in Malawi we have three sources of trying to see that this news is correct. The first of all, we have the Malawi Public Broadcaster, MBC, and then we have two private films, Times and Zodiac. And usually they have the slogan, if you have seen anywhere, verify with us. That is MBC. While for Zodiac, they usually say that zikachitika mumvera kwa ife. When it happens, we are the first to give you. So in our case, when you are trying to do this one, the very first thing that comes into mind is that when a story has happened, there should be verification. That is, if it is a scene, some people who are verified have gone and seen, and they are reporting the truth, not just by hearing. If it is something that has taken place a bit far, people should be in a position to contact people who are close, those that are known. Many institutions have people in the respective regions. Those are the people that are supposed to be used. It would be bad just to break a story without verifying it, because the consequences may be big. So as the news players, we need to make sure that we work with the people that we rely and that we trust in many times when we're doing things, so that we should have our stories well verified.
Fantastic. I have 7 minutes odd. I'm looking at my time, and I want to come to the audience, and I want to check with the following people, because this is their business. And I'm going to put you on the spot, but I want you to say if you are okay to say something about it, just give me a nod. If you are not, just shake your head and I'll move on. Harry, AFP, are you okay? Because you are okay. So hold on, I will come to you. Wesley, BBC, are you okay to say something about, there is my lady, Mary. I thought that maybe you will take the bait, but you're a very clever man. Mary, you will say something to us about how you manage this misinformation, because you guys are in the business of this stuff. Do I have Sevan DW in the room? Delaney, oh, you are shaking your head, so you will pass. Viori, Alex, I'll come to you as well. So let's start with Mary. Real quick, how are you guys approaching this whole issue of misinformation as well?
For the BBC, trust is a very important virtue. So when it comes to releasing news stories, we have to verify. Something very similar to what everybody on the stage has said. Training is important. We continue to train our editors, our reporters, to cross-check again before they break the news. So it's not about being the first, but we want to be the media house that is always going to deliver the truth.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Mary. Can we go to AFP? Contextualize yours within the context of, do you want to be the first or do you want to be the correct? Or you can do both? Go.
We can do both. And
also
do both. I think for AFP, fact-checking is in our DNA, because if it's important to the BBC and we supply the BBC with news, then we have to make sure it's correct. So
Because otherwise you break the one thing that BBC have, which is trust.
Exactly. And I think we have a style book that is very strict, that's very informative, that doesn't leave scope for interpretation. It's a very clear way of working, it's a very clear way of checking. We also, about 3 years ago, introduced a free digital verification course for all journalists, not only clients, but for everybody.
Free digital verification course
Yes.
for all journalists
All journalists.
in Africa.
Doesn't even matter if you work for the competition, it's fine. We'll train you anyway.
Okay.
The reason we did that is because it's incredibly important, especially during periods of strife, that people get the correct information and that journalists know how to verify. And here, AI is a fantastic tool to help with verification, but it's not a good tool to write the news story.
Excellent, thank you. Can I go to my colleague? Oh yes, sorry, Apofia, I will come to you. I was trying to see if you're in the room, now I see. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I think Viore has a mic. After that, we go to Apofia. Alex, please take it away.
Yes, thank you. Yes, as you know, also as Viore, as just like the other agencies, we have universal clients and hence a global responsibility. We at Viore have a fully fledged verification department, and I'm happy to say we're using AI tools for this. We also go through the length of how we recruit our stringers, how we train our verification staff, and how we actually verify the material, whether it's from the location where we've shot the material or from the material itself to see if it's real or if it's generated. Those are lengths that we go to make sure that everything we put out there is totally verified and it's totally legit. Thank you.
Okay, I'll stay with you real quick, Alex. So what happens when you find out the information you put out, something's happened and it's not correct? What do you do straight away?
It has happened before, and immediately we pull it down from our servers and inform whoever might have used it to offer apologies. And it has happened it happens very rarely, but I must admit it has happened, and we pulled it down immediately.
Okay, excellent, good. Apofia, France TV, please.
Well,
pardon moi.
You are pardoned. Okay, so as a global media house, we can't afford to broadcast or news globally without verifying. So we have a department, a huge department, that is that the objective is to verify any information that goes on France 24 and Radio France International. So these colleagues, they are really there to verify any information that comes in the house. And on a weekly basis, we also have a meeting with the editorial department that is who receives all the reports, all the topics, and we really go through them before doing any report, before broadcasting anything. And on top of this, we also have a 5 minutes daily magazine that is called Truth and Fake. So we teach people, we teach the audience how to detect fake news. So how can we do this? How can we teach the audience how to detect fake news if we don't verify? So this is really the point.
I'm delighted to see that all of you, DW, you want to say something now? I'll give you a chance as well. That's the learning here. You are more than happy to speak in French if you want to add. Not there's a translator, and I'm joking.
Okay, I just have to add that we also have that huge department that is there to verify every information that is coming out. And that department works with all our almost 40 departments in the house, every language, just to check the information. For every article, there are, 4 people who have to check the information before we bring that information to our viewers.
So the whole fact, thank you, Delaney. The whole fact-checking thing is taken very seriously, all the way from RT. I'm sure my guys from Sputnik does the same thing, right? Okay. So and our broadcasters are doing the same thing. So I will come back to the panel, and now we are in the phase where we are wrapping up. So 1 minute each, gents, starting with Mr. President. First, talk to me about how we should approach this thing going forward with the technology that we have, and then what your key takeaways are with this issue of information and winning the battle against misinformation and winning the battle against it.
Benji, one element which will always come back to all of us is elections time. I don't think we've touched the coverage during those periods because normally the temperature is very high and it's explosive. Everybody wants to be on the airwaves, and it creates a lot of pressure on the journalists up to the level of seniority within the management. I just want to share that the Namibian experience is that already in 2014, we brought out an equal airtime policy framework, which a year later the regulator bring out as well, and it spoke about 95% to what we're doing. So in Namibia, if any elections has to come, all parties get free equal airtime, irrespective of size. Outside that, if you have the means to buy your time, you can do it, and that helps because it creates less of problems. I myself, as editor-in-chief, I brief all parties that have been vetted by the elections entity, tell them this is how much time you all will get for both radio and TV, and it helps. Then there's no pressure in terms of what needs to happen. Secondly, what we've been doing now is we're in the process of recruiting also stringers. We've started with Zambia. We have a permanent journalist who is Zambian who reports to us. The next country will be Zimbabwe. No, Chair Lady, you will not tell me who I should appoint. I will keep that to myself. And so we will go to all countries because we've realized sometimes when things are breaking, you need that element. But to come back to your question, we just need to remain on top of our game, invest in training and development, and understand the new ways of doing things, and equally, guardingly so, talk about how AI can be implemented, because AI is good, but it can also come with a lot of rubbish. So if you do not have the ability to clean it out, you may believe what it says, and yet it might just be the opposite of what the truth stands for. So that brings you back to fact-checking.
Excellent, thank you. Dennis, your takeaway and summary, please.
I think in the fight against misinformation, the one thing that has probably been a theme throughout our 2 days here is the conversation about AI. So allow me to just spend a few seconds expanding that idea just a little bit. We often use AI as a monolithic word. It's just a thing that exists over there. But really, AI is a combination of so many powerful technologies in so many different directions. And it's trending because most of us in the room probably use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or any of those models, but that is only one element of what AI is. That's large language models. There's so many other machine learning tools and computer vision models and all of these that can be used within the broadcasting space to fight misinformation. They can be used in the general execution of our broadcasting mandate. So I think when we talk about AI, it's also important for us to realize that we're not just talking about ChatGPT. That's great maybe to assist in phrasing certain things or maybe coming up with ideas, but you can put in place automated tools to make sure that any story is fact-checked, for example. Or you can put in place tools that compare it to what exists out in the world, or sentiment analysis, or various different artificial intelligence technologies. So I think doing a lot of research and potentially hiring experts in the field will help many media organizations to really maximize on using artificial intelligence tools, not just in the misinformation, but in the whole workflow of broadcasting.
Excellent. Very well said. Very well said. Nikita?
Yeah, so I just recalled my conversation with one of my colleagues about 2 weeks ago. And we were actually talking about the current state of the media in the world in general. And we actually came to a very depressing conclusion that it is very hard to trust media these days, unfortunately, because even the big international media outlets sometimes put out something that turns to be false, right? And in this atmosphere, I think it's no longer possible to run the race with the bloggers and social media for who's going to be the first one to post. So it's out of the question at this point, because anybody with a phone can be just at this scene and they can post it directly to Instagram or elsewhere. So I think, and what I've heard from the colleagues up here and from the colleagues up there, people are now, people in the media are now prioritizing the fact-checking over speed. So the quality is a lot more important, because we're living in dark times where people tend to trust media less and less. And in this atmosphere, we got to be the ones to still keep up these high standards for everybody.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And last but not least, my DG.
Thank you very much. You know, institutions that bring out credible news, they always come up, they take a space in the listenership. And people like to trust them. My president was talking about times when we are in general elections. I, for one, come from such in 16th September, where sometimes journalists are put under pressure. And like Namibia, in Malawi sometimes, especially the public broadcaster, is always asked without any question. It is very difficult to cover the opposition, and they're always for the party that is ruling. And in such situations, now you begin to bring in conflicts in terms of credibility of information. When it comes that the public broadcaster is trying to cover the opposition, people tend not to follow it. They would rather go for the private TV stations. However, what is more crucial, whatever is happening, people would always try to say, if this has said this, what has this one said? Okay. What has this one said? So in effect, somewhere as editors, where forces come in, we may tend to compromise in our dispatch of news items. But believe you me, we need all to be professional as we are doing our job.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And if we stay professional, we definitely win the battle against misinformation, because we cannot afford to be caught misinforming our audiences and the public. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like, please join me in thanking my panelists for this very, very important panel. Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists. We'll do a quick picture for our group panel, then we can go into the closing ceremony for the event. Do I have the photographer in the room?
Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025. Incorporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention.
Thank you. Can we please appreciate our panelists one more time, please? Right, and here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to be closing our convention, the 2025 Broadcasters Convention of Southern Africa. Here's how we're going to go. May I just request that the ushers, the helpers, may I just request that anyone that's outside, because this is also very important for us, anyone that's outside that belongs to this convention, please come in and take a seat, please. All right. I will be bringing forth a few of our colleagues to say a few words. First, I will bring in Mr. Tapson, the deputy board chair of Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, to say a few words about how they've been the marvelous host. After him, We will also be saying a few thank yous to our partners and our speakers. And then also we will be saying, this is a time where we say thank yous, big thank yous. And then we will close the conference and we will all go and get ready for our dinner and the awards. But first, I want to thank you all. That is why I'm asking anybody that's part of this conference to please come in and sit down, because this is for you, first and foremost. Over the past 2 days, you guys have been participating. You've come from this country, Zimbabwe. You've come from outside of this town. You come from outside of this nation. You come from all length and breadth of Africa, and indeed, all length and breadth of the world, and you've come to this magnificent place called Victoria Falls for us to gather together and discuss important issues that relate to the profession that we are all in. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please appreciate ourselves and thank you all. There is a lot of people coming in now. Excellent. Now, first and foremost, let me bring in my Oga here, Mr. Thompson. Please take it away and let's have your concluding remarks for being such a magnificent host of this event. Please go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you very much. First of all, my task is meant to be an easy one. It seems to be a very easy task. When I was advised by my chair that she was asking me to give a vote of thanks, I thought, very simple. I'm just going to walk and say thank you, everyone. But then when you then sit down and reflect, and as we were going through the program, you start appreciating that, wow, this is a very difficult task. You start thinking, how am I going to be able to express the gratitude that my board, the ZBC staff, the Zimbabwe government, our sister companies, and SABA, how am I going to be able to express with meaningful the great depth of the gratitude that they have to what has been transpiring? It then becomes a very difficult task. You start thinking, we were all here when the minister was giving his address, and you hear that the address is, we really have the support of the government. And you start thinking of ways to say thank you to the minister, to the ministry. The deputy minister was here, the permanent secretary, directors and chief directors. It's like we had the whole ministry having their attention 100% in this very room. They all left their offices. They had to come here. You start thinking, how am I going to say thank you to the government? You start thinking about Saba, our president, and you say, how am I going to say thank you for the great work, for what you are doing for the Southern Africa, for the African region, for the whole world, for us as broadcasters to be able to tell our stories with originality and with one common purpose and view. It's a very difficult thing to do. You see your board members of ZBC, you see the work that has been put in by the executive, and you start thinking, how are we going to do that? At one moment, I got to realize that we're not too sure at some point whether this was going to be a success. So hosting an event of such a magnitude is like expecting a baby. It's like expecting to deliver. It's a very difficult, it's a painful process. And you can't have enough words to thank those people who have put in the support. You think of the sponsors, the participants. Benjamin was saying, without you, this event would not have been possible. We won't have been alive today as Saba. So what do you then say to all the sponsors? What do you say? What words do you find to capture for all that? We have sister organizations. We have other broadcasters from all over the world. Russia, Britain, Europe. We have other, even sister countries who are from North Central, East Africa. They are all here. They've taken their time to be here. I was actually also imagining that is it not excruciating for you guys to have to spend 2 days in the Victoria Falls, locked up in a room and learning? That shows the magnitude of the time, the attention that each and every one of you have put onto this program. And you cannot say profuse gratitude enough. So I ended up realizing that, oh, this is going to be a difficult task. So how am I going to do this? Especially to broadcasters, because they will be putting in content into the AI as you are doing what you're doing. So if you don't do it right, you are killed, you know? So it's a very difficult task because you cannot find the right words. You also know that there are a lot of other people, the technicians, ZBC staff, some who you won't even know, who are working behind the scenes to make things work and great. You have people who have joined us online, people who have presented. You have the panelists who have really put enough effort into researching and giving out information. You see, when you are saying, please, please, please finish this in 15 minutes, it sounds like it's a 15-minute job, but it's actually maybe a 2 months, 3 months worth of research being chunked out in 15 minutes. So great work would have been put to that. So I then felt, oh, how am I going to do this? You know that I've been told that there are about the main 4 languages here. You want to say, does the word in French means infiniment enough? Is it sufficient? Can I say asante sana? Can I say obrigado? Can I say ngiyabonga? Maitabasa? Profuse gratitude? And how do I broadcast this? So I thought, let me do it in the African way. I'll ask you to hold my mic so that I express the gratitude that the board has whilst I create content and broadcast this to you. Those who know this in the African tradition can join us for us to say, oh, thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. We appreciate it.
Isn't that fantastic? Can we please appreciate Tapson? That is awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you, ZBC. You guys are simply awesome. You're awesome. And I don't want to be the only person that has to say that. It shouldn't only come from me. That is why I'm going to invite my namesake, the president of SABA, to quickly also join me here and say a few words of thanks, both to our host and to our colleagues here. And then can I ask all our partners to stand by, because I'm going to be inviting you here for SABA President. We will be appreciating you in a very, very special way. But first, a few words from you, sir.
Can I use this opportunity just to ask my Director Generals and CEOs to join me? Please.
All SABA Director Generals and CEOs, please.
To join me. Because it's the sum total of us that actually makes Saba. And then, Mr. Pierce, the nice thing is when you have the mic, you can also delegate the task of giving the thank you. And I'm looking at my team here. One of them will have to say thank you on our behalf. You see, they are looking away now. None of them wants to look at me. My Vice President, it's unfortunate that you will be the one that will have to say thank you on behalf of the Director General.
for the occasion too.
To say thank you on behalf of us to our host in terms of what we've been doing and also for the past 2 days that we've spent here. And that you will do on behalf of us. Is Nomhle here? Nomhle, can you also just join us here? This is our Secretary General of Saba, a pivotal point of our business. My Vice President, please, a word of thanks on behalf of Saba. It's over to you.
I don't know what I did, President, to be so lucky today. But in all seriousness, first I'll just observe, all the protocol that's been observed, and maybe also just say hello to everyone and just check if we are all still here. Are we all still here? Ah, good. It's a good crowd. So the past 2 days, actually for me, President, and everyone, right, it's been the past almost week now, right? It's just been a really, really awesome time in Zimbabwe. I had the pleasure of being hosted by ZBC, where I had the opportunity to tour their studios and see some of the great work that is happening here in Zimbabwe. Both Bulawayo and also spent time with the executive team at ZBC, where we just got to discuss, I'll say, issues and potential opportunities of collaboration, right? And then now, the 2 days that we've spent here as a collective. And what I can say is this is home. This is home. The people of Zimbabwe you've really been great hosts. You have treated us, I'm going to speak for the crowd because I've spoken to most people here. You have treated us very, very, very well. And we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Dr. Piri, please, your place is here. Let's give him a warm round of applause. He's representing his DG. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Whilst you're standing there, I want you to do a favor for me, guys. I will call in this order. And please, these are our partners: RT Africa, Sputnik, SES, France 24, Lavo, Centec, TVU Networks, DW, Discover Digital if they are still in the room, and Workflow Labs. I need a representative of each one of you to come and receive your certificates from the president or whoever the president chooses to hand over the certificates to you. So, ROT, please. We need to make this a little bit snappy, guys. So can we please appreciate ROT? Let's give the president the certificate.
Dr. Piri will hand that one.
Dr. Piri, there you go. Do we have a photographer, please, real quick? Thank you, ROT. Thank you very much. Sputnik. Can we please appreciate these guys as they come real quick? Please stand by SES, stand by France 24, stand by Lavo. Sputnik. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. President, who's going to do SES? Can we have a representative from SES, please? The GG of Lesotho. Thank you very much. SES, thank you. Excellent, thank you very much. France 24. France 24, please. Can I have Lavo come in? Centec, TVU. First is France 24. Been presented by SABC. Excellent, thank you, France 24. Do we still have Lavo in the room? No. Can I move to Centec? Centec, please. You don't want to shake her hand? That's Centec. Thank you. TVU Networks. TVU Networks. Do I have TVU Networks in the room? No. DW. Can we please give a rousing round of applause to my sister, Sevan from DW, presented by my Oga from Seychelles. Merci beaucoup. Photograph, please. Photograph. Seven. My lady. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. You have to take a photograph. We need a record of these things. Is the room gone dark all of a sudden, or is it me? Right. Okay. So I don't think I have Discover Digital. So last but not least, Workflow Labs. My president, who's going to be giving Workflow Labs. Workflow Labs. Please, can we appreciate Workflow Labs, our guys from India? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. President, I would like for you to stay, but if you permit me, I will ask you to maybe release the team so we can carry on. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Now, there are two categories of people, actually three, that I need to go through one by one, that I always give thanks to. We always thank you guys, apart from our sponsors, because our sponsors covers the logistics for this one to be a successful event. My president, you will appreciate the fact that we also have no event if we don't have the resource people, our speakers and panelists. I think we managed to book about 40 of them to be part of this event. So if I go one by one mentioning all those 40, we wouldn't leave here tonight. So if you permit me, I will ask that we please collectively raise the roof for all our resource people and panelists that have been joining us for the past 2 days. Please.
And Benjamin, this will include the incredible, powerful, steadfast ZBC crew.
Absolutely. And that is where, hold your horses, and that is where I'm going next, my president. Because we don't just want to clap for them, we don't just want to raise the roof for them. I want to invite them to the podium, my president, if you allow me.
That's in place.
So, everyone that's been part of this organization and you work for ZBC, I don't care how many numbers are, I will leave this stage for you. Can we ask all of you to please come to the front? All of you, please, all of you. There is a reason for it. Come on, guys. Please. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? We see an event that runs And we've been here for 2 days. We've been enjoying hospitality. We've been picked up at the airport on time. We've been picked up at our hotels to come here. The AV, everything has been running like clockwork. Then you wonder who's behind it. It's not Benjamin. It's not Stanley Similo. It's not the DG of ZBC. It's not the board of ZBC. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the people that did it. Can we please appreciate them? On behalf of Broadcast Media Africa, my organization, on behalf of SABA, and I speak for the president of SABA and the board of SABA, and on behalf of the company that you work for, ZBC, thank you very much, guys. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Did we take a picture? Right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Benjamin.
My chief.
Ngizokhuluma.
There is.
Angazi noba wena uzawungizwa.
I don't know. Maybe I'll have to ask my boss here to do the interpretation.
Siyabonga.
Yeah, thank you very much, boss. My boss, there is one more person. So I will tell you a story. And obviously, you know who I'm going to be talking about. When we were in Namibia, and the minister came and said, Mr. President, we are going to Victoria Falls. I scratched my head. I thought, okay, maybe it's political talk. You know, politicians, they say the thing and then we have to implement it. There is one person in this room that said, okay, we will make it happen. That we will be here, Benjamin, I guarantee you that we will be here in Victoria Falls and you guys are going to have a very, very good time, a swell time. And it's not been easy. You are part of what we did in Swakopmund. You know what goes into this stuff. We've just appreciated the people that were working behind the scenes, but there's a lot of strategic decisions. There's a lot of knocking heads together. There's a lot of things that has to take place. And there's one person, ladies and gentlemen, that I want you to give a standing ovation for, because she is a person. The reason why we're able to come here today, the reason why we're able to bring together all the sponsors, all the panelists, all the speakers, and all the audiences to this place is because of the lady that I called Miss H. Heliat Ruswaya. Please, ladies and gentlemen, can we please, Heliat, please come. Can we please give a standing, rising ovation for my lady here? Mr. President, she is the one that did it. Ladies and gentlemen, I will hand over to her for her to say a few words to you guys. I think that is the least we deserve. Please take your seats.
Thank you, Benji. I'm so embarrassed because I actually didn't do much. I just tagged him along from September last year when Mr. President wrote to us saying the minister invited us to Zimbabwe, and we were like, yeah, we've got a whole year. January, they were chasing. March, they were chasing. Then we started panicking. Benji is Benjamin Pius, we stand BP, and when we were growing up, our parents, I don't know how many of you from other African countries, our mothers, they always say, oh, you're going to make my blood pressure go up. The BP is going to go up. This is the BP. Benji was so tenacious. Benji was constantly chasing. I made poor Mr. Similo write so many letters because we just kept like kicking the ball into the long grass. We had no plan. But finally we got it. I'm so sorry, Benji. I was lying to you half the time when I was saying when I was saying everything is under control. You won't believe it, but the team at ZBC, I don't know, Elson and Direct Engineer Muzamba, who was the acting CEO at the time, we did not have a venue until the 5th of August. So I think it's a blessing in disguise. We didn't get the venue that we intended to host this event at, because this is amazing, this is beautiful. This is not AI, this is real Zimbabwe. And I think on behalf of the board, on behalf of the executive, on behalf of the whole of the ZBC, but also on behalf of, I am such a patriot, on behalf of the whole of Zimbabwe, we are so grateful that you came here. We hope we have managed to change the narrative that you may have had about our country. And also, again, this is not AI, this is real, and thank you for coming. Thank you, Benji.
Elliot, thank you very much, ma'am. It's been a wonderful time for the past few days here, and I'm grateful for it. Mr. President, we have to move on real quick. I will allow you to say a few words, but I want to ask you a question. Do we know where we are going next year?
Yes. I think I can always apologize if I'm wrong, but I think I will make the announcement. We are going to the Seychelles. And that's courtesy to our CEO. Thank you very much.
I think, do you still want, I think we should invite him to come and tell us. Please come, please, 2 minutes. Come and tell us what we can expect from the Seychelles next year, please.
It's a surprise. Thank you. We look forward to, well, firstly, thank you, Zimbabwe, for setting an example and your hospitality. We appreciate it's been, hopefully hasn't ended. Tomorrow we look forward for the tour. And you should tell us a bit about that too. But we hope to at least meet your expectations. We apologize we couldn't do it last year. No, the year before, was it? Last year, when you took over. So our board was, this time, very supportive. The chairman said, we must happen. Please go and tell them they are in the Seychelles next year. So I can confidently say, we look forward to welcoming you to the Seychelles. We had a little tourism video, but there's enough videos you can watch online to see what you're going to get. But we hope SBC can be on the level of the ZBC, and we look forward to welcoming you to the Seychelles next year. Thank you.
So, as I always say, Seychelles, here we come.
Benjamin,
We'll see you
there's a
next year.
smaller group that
Yes.
needs to come to the fore.
Absolutely.
And I'll do the
Yes,
favors.
please, go ahead.
I need the Broadcast Media Africa group that is supporting Mr. Pius. And at the same time, I also want the NBC group that works daily on the Saba matters. That would be Nico, Shaimi,
and the Secretary General again,
and Nomhle.
And Nomhle.
She's running around.
So from my group,
Nonku,
we have
come.
Nonku. I'm sure everybody knows Nonku,
Yeah.
Deborah, and
And the
Daphne.
crew.
Please come. Come on, please,
to the
guys.
stage,
come on.
yeah. This is a special group of people. My chair lady, if you talk blood pressure, the lady there at the corner, once she has your number and your email, you will know. And that's when you will really know that BMA is around. And if that does not work, Benjamin will call me, Mr. President, I'm just checking, how are you? And then I know there's something that I needed to do. then I'll tell you, no, I'm on a quick meeting, and that's also not truthful when I say it. Because I would have to go back and quickly check what is outstanding. And I will check. If I can't find it, I will call Nomshe. And if I can't, then I'll speak to Nico. But at a point I will know, oh, I'm supposed to give him names, I'm supposed to confirm. But these are really the people that are the driving force, particularly from a BMA perspective. And their work starts the moment things end here.
Yes.
Already they now know that it's Seychelles, so don't be surprised if by tomorrow you already get a reminder that it is Seychelles. We may not have the venue, but they will remind you about the country. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, now we have to wrap up, so I will allow you to say your last words before we wrap it up and we go and get ready for dinner. So, your floor, sir.
Benji, I've asked the Vice President to say something.
Your floor, sir.
Yeah, no, from us, from Saba, the one thing that is great about what we do, every intervention in terms of convention, we just keep raising the bar. It's good, but it puts pressure. You've just heard my CEO saying, for next year, as we are coming to Seychelles, he hopes that we will do the same. We can assure you, Mr. Dupree, that we will support you all the way to make sure that your event next year has the look and feel for what you, your people, and your country stands for. And the reason is simple. The Zimbabwean experience has been as such that I even told my other half to say that, look, I don't know when I will come and visit you, because I am home at Vic Falls. Where you are in Namibia, it's for me to decide whether I want to go and visit, because this home called Zimbabwe, I am not leaving. With that said, it's basically just to give you the gratitude in terms of what one is feeling. Maybe words may never be able to express, but we do say thank you, particularly from myself and Benji. I'll also speak on his behalf. These are the two Benjamins. And Chair Lady, so the letters that I've been writing, I heard the truth about them now. But don't worry, they were all for a very good cause. Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody that really has made time to come and be part of what we do.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a wrap. See you at dinner. Thank you. God bless you. Have a good evening. Dinner comes in at 7 o'clock, I think.
Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media Africa and the Southern African Broadcasting Association, SABA. Broadcasters Convention Southern Africa 2025, hosted by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation and the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, convened by Broadcast Media